All right, we are live for WGON's live traffic report for April 25th, 2020. I am Eric,
And Matt,
and we are here tonight. We're still locked down in COVID-19 coronavirus quarantine. I'm sad. Well, I don't. I've been working at home. You've been going to the office, so not much has changed for you, has it?
no, it's been busy. The government loan program has kind of kicked into high gear, and that's keeping me busy trying to help some small businesses get some funds to keep their people paid and to keep their doors open and afloat, so that when we get back to some sort of normalcy, that they are able to operate, because small businesses really are the backbone of our country, and they really affect a lot of people more than you know. So it's a little hectic, but I'm enjoying it. It's keeping me busy. I mean, I go into the office, and before I know it, it's 2 or 3 o'clock in the afternoon, and I'm like, did I get anything done today? My email's been pinging all day today for stuff for me to address on Monday, or to get back to people. So I'm just working on that, and trying to keep a low profile, because there's not much else going on. Just doing that and work around the house, just like you said.
Well, how about the missus? Obviously the kids are home. What's going on? Is she able to stay with them, or?
Yeah, she stays home during the day, but she still goes into the daycare where she works. She does a lot of admin stuff because she's the director, so she keeps that kind of stuff going on. But yeah, she's doing the homeschool assignments and all that stuff that you need to do during the day. Thank God, she's able to run to the post office for me, or run and get stuff, because just me leaving for work sometimes it's just too much. So thank God she keeps herself occupied. They're doing the home recipes that they find on TikTok or Facebook, or cleaning or little projects and whatnot. So the kids are doing okay. Today was a nice day, so we were out doing some outside of the house projects since my bathroom got done.
Yes.
Yay! 2 years later.
Yeah, the wife and I are both working from home right now, and obviously the kids are home, and we're doing the whole
2 years
home,
later.
homeschool stuff, which is really tough to keep up with. And yeah, we're managing.
Later.
Could be worth it.
Yeah, the wife and I are both working from home
right now. Are you getting a delay? Is that your
audio? Yeah, I was sorry about that. And technology sometimes, folks.
But yeah, I mean, it could be a lot worse. I mean, we're still drawing a paycheck, and stimulus funds came through. I don't know what it's looking like over there. I mean, I almost feel guilty accepting it, because we didn't, there's been no interruption in income.
Well, it helps. I mean, any little bit. We sock that away in savings. I could have had some big plans for that, to dump into a fund to go to California or something, to finally see LA and do some movie location visits. But the wife's like, put it away, and I was like, okay, put it away. But you never know. It's the first time we've really gotten ahead with some savings. Nice. And it's nice that we're getting there. I want to take a couple of bucks. She wants to get a couple of tattoos and stuff, so I'm gonna let her splurge and get some ink. I might start on my leg as well, but not much. It's gonna stick. It's gonna stick in savings. So if we need to,
now I'm curious.
What do I want to get?
Mm-hmm.
On my legs, I want to start from the knee down. I want to do a half sleeve of Halloween.
What you gonna start with?
I want to do. I know I want to do at least the poster of part 1. I kind of want to do one of a little bit of every movie. I'm a super fan of part 6, The Curse. So that one scene where he's holding the axe in around the hanging laundry, I really like that scene. But 1, 2, and 6 are my favorites. Just like I did with my Blair Witch sleeve, I want to get things that are a little different. Either different scenes or something that's not as common, I guess you want to say. So I want to see what I want to do with that. But I have I got 2 Dawn tattoos and a land tattoo. So I figure I was like, you know what, I got to get some more George stuff on me as well, since the Blair Witch stuff kind of took over.
Mm-hmm. Very cool. Yeah, I threw some pretty much instantly into some credit card debt. Now I'm just waiting on the second site pre-sale to go live, which is yet to happen. And I mean, if anybody can get a word the second site or knows anybody over there, stimulus checks have been deposited, so now's a good time to strike.
Yeah, let's get that thing pre-ordered so we can finally get our Dawn fix on, because it's a little slow here now. And I even just saw, if no one knows, I'm a huge fan of Funko Pops, and they came out with an announcement yesterday that they're going to be slowing the release of a bunch of stuff for the remainder of the year. I don't really care, except as long as the American Psycho Pops don't get delayed. I need my Patrick Bateman Funko Pops. And everything else can be done for the rest of the year as long as I get my Patrick Bateman, and I'm going to be good. But I think they're already done because they're supposed to come out in June. So hopefully they're sitting, in a warehouse somewhere and just have to get shipped to us.
Yeah, officially, there's nothing official since we last broadcast regarding the second site, Dawn of the Dead Blu-ray and UHD releases. I'm seeing a lot of buzz on Facebook about people looking for UHD and region-free Blu-ray players. So I suspect that might be the trigger for that sudden interest. And I know I think I saw you posted something. What's going on? Did your Seiki act up or something?
No, my Seiki is working good. It's my main Blu-ray player. So for those of you guys that don't know, Blu-ray's region free. I have a company called Seiki. Came out with a region free Blu-ray player about 6, 7, 8 years ago, and it was like
I got it for a birthday that was 6 years ago.
Yeah, so it was a super cheap region free player. It was like $50 or $60, and you can get it through Sears. And I ended up ordering one, and it works great. It's a powerhouse. But with rearranging my den, I figure now I have a really nice dedicated entertainment area. And if I want to watch, City of the Living Dead from Arrow in England, I don't want to sit upstairs and watch it. So I'll go downstairs, and I watch a lot of times I lay in bed at night and listen to audio commentaries before I fall asleep. And I can't watch any of my region free players, region free discs, or region B encoded discs in the bedroom. So I was looking for a way to get reasonably priced region free players for the other two in the house, in case there's a backup, I can swap one out. But yeah, with the second site one coming out and those being region free, especially with the 4K and those being region free, I can play those right through my Xbox One S.
Yeah, and I'll be picking up a 4K player, and Matthew Day was nice enough to provide the information that I guess that the 4K will automatically downsample to HD if that's the equipment you're using. So that'll get me by. And I'm ready for a pretty steep price tag on that set. I think I'm gonna go with both sets. I don't.
Oh, like I said, I think I said this before. Is there's not much in the world that I'll buy two of, especially in this day and age, because things do get a little bit pricier. But yeah, having the 4K set and the other set, I'll probably grab both, just because if there's two things I'm a completist in, it's Dawn of the Dead and the Blair Witch Project. I wouldn't feel right letting one hang out there and not get it, even though I probably will keep that one sealed and it'll just look pretty on the shelf.
Now I never did get that French 4K. Did you pick that up?
The French 4K, was that the black one with zombie?
It was
the open.
I want to say it was green. You remember the French set with the Davinsky commentary? It was a separate release.
Yeah, you got it for me. You ordered it for me.
There was a separate release that was just the 4K.
Oh no, shit! I forgot about that one. Shit, I guess I got to go find that one if it's still around. No, good call. No, I forgot about that one.
Yeah, I didn't get that one either. I mean, after all the mastering issues with that French release, I didn't. I might pick it up on the cheap, but
I don't think one of those is going to be found on the cheap.
No, it's probably
That's the secondary market for Blu-rays. Used to be you wait 6 months, 8 months, and you get it for a pretty nice discount. But now shit goes out of print like you wouldn't believe. Only probably because they cost so much to begin with due to licensing that they don't have the ability. People are buying them and throwing them on the secondary market, for 20-30% more. That it doesn't justify waiting anymore.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely, yeah, I agree, and also these have been announced as limited edition. So what exactly that means, I'm not sure. I'm worried they're dividing that limited edition number by the expensive amount they had to pay to restore and to get the rights.
Yeah. Well, I mean, granted, just based on his history, a box set like this for Dawn of the Dead is going to sell. It's not going to sit on the shelf. Mm-hmm. You got people like you and me, and a lot of the people that are chiming in today and that listen to the podcast and that go to the shows. They're going to pick them up if they can. A lot of people will pick them up even if they can't play them, just because it's going to be a nice looking set. It comes with that box, or that book. Whether or not that's going to be in a different language, I don't know. I might have to use Google Translate on my phone.
Oh, wait, which book? No, that's
I can't imagine. Oh, it comes to UK.
Yeah, so it should be English. We should be all good there.
Okay, that's right. It's so hard to remember who's putting what out. Mm-hmm. I keep thinking this is the French. I think I stuck with the French.
The Dawn.
It tends to happen.
I keep meaning to go back and check out that second site, Creep Show, just to see if it's of decent quality, because I know next to nothing about this company. I'd just like to build a little more brand trust with them, but it is what it is. It's coming.
Yeah, I figure anything that's not US, it's hard to know about, just because you're probably not buying a lot from them anyway.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, a lot of time it's just to have the variant of release. I'm not always, it's not always because there's a superior transfer. Sometimes there's just an extra that's included that's not on the American release that makes it worthwhile.
Yeah, I'll rebuy an entire Blu-ray just for the addition of a commentary.
Me too. Yeah.
That's I was talking to a friend of mine the other day, and he was talking about going through all the special features on some of the Shout Factory stuff. And I was like, shit, I don't even know if I've gone through all that. And that's half the reason why I buy these, is for all the new special features. And I'm like, guess I need to go back and do that. But that's just, you're talking a couple hours.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. All right. We'll get into a couple of news topics we wanted to briefly discuss. Nothing too major. George Romero, before he passed away, had been working on not necessarily a direct sequel to any of his Living Dead films, but it was more of just an extension of that same universe that he was creating a new tale in novel form. And when he passed away, apparently he left some notes behind that another author kind of picked up on and finished the book, which was supposed to come out, I think, within the last few weeks or so, but something happened. There was a delay. Do you know something about that, Matt?
Well, I think the delay just happens to coincide with the COVID-19 stuff, because there's a lot of stuff that's been pushed back that probably hadn't already been manufactured by a large company. But it was supposed to come out, I think, the beginning of June. They pushed it back now to August 4th. So basically what we're looking at is George was always writing. If there was one thing I knew about George, when he wasn't traveling, he was writing something. I could only imagine the trunk of notes, spec scripts, partial scripts, full scripts that he left behind. And I know Suze was working on a bunch of that stuff, but I guess he had gotten pretty far with the Living Dead novel, to the point that it was pretty much completed by the time he passed away in 2017. And basically what he was doing is he was writing his own novel set in the world that he created on film. And what it looks like is that there are 3 different stories that take place in the book at 3 different times during the zombie outbreak. One it looks like it looks like it starts at the beginning, when the zombie apocalypse starts. And then there's a second story about a teenager who's caught up in the midst of the growing epidemic. And then finally, the last one is, it looks to be towards the tipping point or the tail end of what is happening. So it's going to be interesting to see, to see some of George's writing, because it's, we've seen some of George's writing in short stories and stuff throughout the years, but never to the point where this is kind of a beast. I think it's just shy of 700 pages.
Whoa.
So, I mean, you're looking at 3 full-length novels. And
it looked kind of bulky in the picture, but I didn't, sometimes that's just promotional. I didn't realize it was actually that. 700 pages, that's a journey.
Yeah, no, I was thinking it was probably going to be, a novel length.
Couple hundred, 300 maybe, yeah.
Probably 300-400, but I mean, when you're talking almost 700 pages, you're getting into some detail. Mm-hmm. So I'm really excited. The other author, Daniel Kraus, looks like took over based on George's outlines or plots. So I'm assuming that third story is going to be where you're probably going to see a change in tone. It's sometimes not always easy for me to pick that up when I'm reading a book co-authored by 2 people. But sometimes it's pretty easy because your prose and structure kind of changes. And so it'll be interesting. Maybe we have to follow up with Suze once it comes out and see if she knows where Dan picked up, or maybe we can try to reach out to Dan and talk to him. But yeah, it looks like Jace, our buddy Jace Whitman, is in the chat, and he said the ARCs are already on eBay. So yeah, I know ARCs are out. For those of you guys that don't know, an ARC is an advanced reader copy, usually sent out to people to do cover blurbs, friends of the publisher, friends of the author, to give some good feedback and some good press. So the ARCs that are out, obviously, and they will pretty much mirror what the finished product is. Usually they have a stamp on the front that says advanced reader copy, like a sticker, or it's embedded into the cover. The content shouldn't be any different. A lot of times ARCs are sent out and they find, misspellings, or something's missing, or something needs to be changed. But they're usually sent out a couple of months prior. And I know they've been out for at least 2 or 3 months.
I tell you what, just in your describing everything that this novel is, and, the detailing, the progress that was going on with it and the length. I've gone from not really terribly interested to a sure, a day one buyer. I'll probably pre-order this because I know I'm forgetting something, and you'll tell me immediately, but the only thing that immediately jumps to mind regarding fiction novel style writing of George Romero is the short story Clay.
And that's what I was thinking of when I was talking about we had read some George's early stuff. I don't
anything else of that nature.
I can't.
Humongo Bongo.
Well, I mean, Humongo Bongo and Clay. I don't think there's been anything published by George in terms of long form writing. Just to kind of relate this, I remember back in 2004 getting ready to go see the Dawn of the Dead remake with a friend of mine, and he goes, "Hey, you like to read, right?" And I said, "Yeah." He goes, "Dude, I just picked up this great zombie novel." I was like, "What's it called?" And he goes, "It's called The Rising," by a guy named Brian Keene. Brian actually lives within an hour from me, and I got to meet Brian, and I've gotten to be really good friends with him over the years. We produced a couple of movies together and whatnot, and he's good friends with Ken Foray and Greg, and he had met George at a horrifying convention in Maryland. It was 2004, the one that you were at, or 2003 or 2004, and yeah, they were at the after party, and George brings out a copy of The Rising from his vest and has Brian sign it for him. So Brian took a lot of influence from that, and Brian helped really kind of reinvigorate the mid 2000s revival of horror books and zombies. So I'm very, very excited that George got to do this. I think it's something he probably always wanted to do, but maybe either never had the time to do. But Brian Keene and his zombie novels have stuck with me. I mean, they're some of my absolute favorites. So I think these will be, just if you want to sit down and read a bunch of zombie novels, you only need George and Brian Keene to to get you through. So if you guys haven't checked it out, check out Brian Keene, Keene. He's a local Central Pennsylvania author. Yeah, I'm putting him over here like a promo, not because he's a good friend of mine, but he's also done a lot for me personally. But yeah, no, he was a huge fan of George's and friend of the genre. So they'll be good. It'll be good to read.
And for those that don't know, the short story Clay, it's George Romero's short story Clay. It's included in a collection of stories called Modern Masters of Horror, which also includes stories from Stephen King and others. Sorry, I thought that'd be more detailed than that. But I found Clay to be a really disturbing story. I mean, he really, I don't know if all of his writing is like that, but Clay really goes to the jugular. It doesn't mess around.
It's been a hot minute. I have a copy of the book.
Cool.
I mean,
you got the soft. I didn't really. I'm gonna have to pick up a soft cover. I've got a hardcover with kind of the.
I mean, just it's got 15 authors, including Stephen King, George Romero, Robert McCammon. If you haven't read Swan Song, if you're a fan of The Stand, read Swan Song. They are two sides of the same coin. They are super, super awesome. Richard Lehman. If you guys have never read Richard Lehman, he unfortunately passed away about 20 years ago. Just an absolute, just master of words. I can read one of his books in about a day and a half. And there's some really, really good ones. There's some good gems in there. Ramsey Campbell's another good one. Graham Masterson. So these are all in here. I probably haven't read Clay in forever.
It's been about 15 years for me. I mean, it's not anything that I really.
I don't remember anything.
It's well written, but it's pretty disturbing content, and it's damning, strike against kind of Catholicism or organized religion in general.
It's 21 pages. You can
it's ugly.
You can read it. Yeah, and there's the next story is called A Cabin in the Woods, so I'm kind of curious. Maybe it was a precursor, but yeah, no. Modern Masters of Horror is the book that has Clay in it. So George's written word. It's what we're getting.
But yeah, like I said, your description that's got me a lot more interested, because originally I heard George was working on something, got some of it done, some dude finished it.
Yeah, there was the comic book Road to the Dead with Jonathan Mayberry, who is another prolific horror author, super awesome guy. So read Jonathan Mayberry too if you guys are looking for stuff to get you through to get a fix if you're not getting it from the TV or the film. That comic came out a year and a half, 2 years ago, I think it was. I read it, but I have so much has happened. I usually have to do a second read to really get a good, for it to stick. But that was another one of George's works put into comics.
WGON is receiving from reliable resources messages that the Living Dead novel is available on eBay as an early release, but the official release is August 4th, 2020. Has a pretty hefty pre-order price of $27.99 on Amazon right now, so I'll look.
Well, I mean, $27.99. You probably think for one novel you're paying $12.
Kindle version $14.99.
Yeah.
So we'll see.
Yeah, snap it up.
Also, coming out, it kind of snuck under the radar. We just neglected to mention it for a couple weeks. Is Trick or Treat Studios. They've actually, when conventions were occurring, they actually were kind of rolling out their new product for this October. And one of those masks that they're going to roll out is a new Flyboy mask. And, it's got an MSRP of $59.99. Looks like it's going to come out sometime in August or September. And $59.99, that's kind of steep. But that's about $20 less than the Pillow Pal or whatever that's called, and the as well as the Hare Krishna. Both of those were more around the 80 mark. I want to say the What's
The Harry Krishna was 60. The airport zombie was 55. The Roger Pillow was 80. So they split the difference and put Flyboy right in the middle.
this? And I think we've mentioned it before. We're getting a little tired of the repetition of the license for Flyboy and the airport zombie. I mean, this is a pretty decent sculpt. It's got a lot of hair. It's. I'm gonna pass on it. What say you?
I like the fact that they're using some real hair, and I do like the detail. If you go to Trick or Treat Studios website and look, you can kind of see the stippling and the wrinkling of the skin, which I really do like. I like that the eyes are there and they're up in the corner, so you'll be looking out probably where his pupil is. It is a nice looking mask. But I'm going to echo your sentiments. One, I want more than Flyboy. I want more than the airport zombie. That probably has a lot to do with licensing and likenesses. I'm not going to complain, so don't take it as me sounding ungrateful. I have a lot of Flyboy. I have a lot of airport zombie, and yes, they're iconic. Dave Emge is a great guy, great performance, probably the best zombie performance of the film, and maybe of George's original trilogy. But I'm probably going to pass. I know I had said this to you. For me, it's not an immediate buy. It is about $30 more than I would want to spend. But Trick or Treat Studios puts out great stuff. I was on a conference call the other day, and I showed up wearing my Michael Myers Curse of Michael Myers mask. And I mean, they usually go back to the molds, and they do a great job. So Trick or Treat Studios, top company, absolutely love their product. I have the Big Daddy mask looking at me right now.
Yeah, that's what I was searching for earlier. How much the Big Daddy? How much was that one?
I think I got that one cheap. I want to say I paid less than 60 for it. I think I probably got it for 40 or 50. It was one of those. It was right at the right price, and I had the cash, and I bought it. But I know Trick or Treat Studios, and I'm going to keep the page up. They have an Eyes Wide Shut mask that's a replica of the one Tom Cruise wore to the big orgy scene. I have a cloak, and I keep saying one day I'm going to go as Tom Cruise from Eyes Wide Shut on Halloween.
All right.
I mean, I know one person that's not going to be buying this mask, and I think he's hiding out in the chats. Is our buddy Scott, who is the living embodiment of Dave Emge in human and zombie form. Virtual cheers. I didn't get Iron City this time, but Scott Calloway. Maybe he was the model. Maybe he was the model for the Flyboy mask. But I know if he gets one, he doesn't need to wear it. He looks exactly like him, and it's goddamn creepy sometimes to look at him and think I'm looking at Dave Emge from 42 years ago.
The Flyboy mask is one that I'm liable to snap up live if I've got $60 of convention cash and it's Sunday.
If it's a slow weekend and I've got extra cash and I'm like, oh man, I don't think I came away with anything, I don't know, if I had a choice between the airport and the Flyboy mask, I might go to the airport zombie. If I had to choose.
Bust then.
I do have the bust, but I got a small bust for Flyboy up there. So again, I'm crawling with airports. I'm looking at all the figures on my wall. I got two of each.
Matt, your bust is plenty big.
Oh, thank you. I try to, try to do what I can.
Yeah, I'm game for it. Maybe on a slow weekend, or if nothing's come out for a couple of years and I'm dying to pick up something. But
yeah, when you got to scratch that itch, $60 doesn't seem like a bit. It's like I said, it's $60.
It's not the price for me. It's what it is. I mean,
yeah.
I mean, if it were like Jeannie Jeffries or really any name the zombie, green and yellow striped zombie, I'm ordering it.
Yeah, I would like to see those one-off. I would love a figure of like Jay Stover. Comes with multiple guns.
With the Canadian tuxedo.
Yeah. Or someone does a Tasos Stavrakis, triple pack. Just puts him in there as all the characters he plays. That's what I would like to see. I mean, I really wish some of the the NECA figures and stuff that they would come out with those, or even just the GI Joe ones, like officially licensed GI Joe looking ones.
Oh yeah,
Do a whole set of that. Yeah.
Heck yeah. No, I'm all about this. Okay, well, obviously it's no secret we're all still kind of locked down. Seems like things are gearing towards opening, but all that said, we're still kind of waiting on status on Living Dead Weekend. We did get mention, or there was a post that was made by Kevin Kreis, who owns the Living Dead Museum and runs the Living Dead Weekend. I now toss to WGON on the scene reporter. Matt,
thank
you for the rest of the story.
Thank you, Eric. It's pandemonium here at the Monroeville Mall with the apparent non-news of the Living Dead Weekend now. So Kevin Kreis posted something the other day, just kind of an update, because I'm sure his inbox has been blowing up. Basically, at this point, the state of Pennsylvania is at a stay-at-home order until May 8th. Just because May 8th comes and goes doesn't mean other states may not have the same ban lifted, and they may even have some sort of travel restrictions. So basically, Kevin has come out and said, to paraphrase, they're still hopeful to get the show in June. But there's a lot of other factors that are out of Kevin's hands, whether or not the mall's going to be allowed to have it, whether or not the mall might be open. One of the other considerations, guys, we need to remember is, we're in Pennsylvania now, and most states around us, you have to wear masks out in public. So what's going to be the fun of going to a Living Dead weekend where you're both wearing masks and you're trying to get photos? So, I think Kevin is taking the right approach with, holding tight. I'm sure he'll wait to the absolute last minute to make an official announcement. And I know that doesn't help people that, maybe have bought airplane tickets. I don't know what the airlines are doing. I know some are refunding, some are letting you rebook at a future date. But at this point, it's just kind of like Kevin, coming up for air and saying, hey guys, we're still looking into it. I know Steel City Con is that weekend. They have been posting that their wording is just making it sound like that show is going on. Like I saw a post the other day, I think Amanda Weiss from Nightmare on Elm Street is going to be there. And the way the post read, it says, we are happy to announce that Amanda Weiss will be joining us for the Steel City Con June 12th through the 14th. And I'm thinking, guys,
I want to hire their marketing person. And if it's Will Hatzel, I don't think it is, but if it is Will, good job, dude. But yeah, their marketing is optimistic.
Yeah, I mean, we need some optimism. We need some good news. I know, guys, we're all tired of this. No one wants to wear masks. Everyone, is turning this into, political right, wrong, indifferent. The short of it is, this is something that's affecting different people in different ways at different times. We have to think of the greater good. And I think I said this 2 weeks ago is, guys, these guests that come to these shows are now in their 50s and 60s. They might already be immunocompromised and they might not be comfortable. They're going to be meeting 50, 60, 70, 80 people by lunch, if not, more. And then all weekend, it only takes one person to be in the vicinity and someone else catches it and takes it home to someone who isn't going to survive. So,
hey, I hate to sound like a capitalist here, but that can go a long way towards selling some photo ops. Like, hey, photo ops are mask free. Just saying.
Yep. True American. Thinking of the almighty dollar. No, I mean, the financial impact for putting this on, you hope, no one has to take a bath to put this show on so that, Kevin is able to postpone it. If he does, I'm hoping for an October show. Or September, because it looks to be at this point everything is pulling out of June. I know New Jersey Rock Horror Con was scheduled for the end of June. They have moved their show to the end of September. And to me, that doesn't bode well because Chiller Theater Convention is held in New Jersey and they have their April show. They moved it to June. They've canceled that show and are moving it to October. They normally do 2 shows a year, and their October show is now going to be their only show this year. The dominoes are starting to fall. I think at this point, large gatherings like this are not going to happen. I'm waiting to hear for the Alanis Morissette concert that I have tickets for the beginning of July. I'm just waiting for that. And hell, it might have already been canceled, but I haven't gotten an email. I haven't checked our website. I'm 75% certain this show's not going to happen. Again, that's not because I don't want it to happen. I do. I want to see you. I want to see everybody. But at this point, I think it's just a matter of, you know what, we need to make sure that we're over this thing and that we don't get it again. Because if people are complaining that we are in a lockdown and they hate it, leaving the house early and, you know, having this flare up again is it's just going to put us right back to where we're at now. We're going to have to be stuck at home all summer. And I don't think anybody wants to be at home all summer, but we're already in for a world of difference.
You're in the state of Pennsylvania. What's your gut on like a date for Monroeville Mall? Just simply Monroeville Mall opening. What's your gut on that based on current?
I'm not thinking till June. I'm thinking the stay-at-home order. If it goes to May 8th, I don't foresee shopping malls and department stores opening en masse, because I mean, when you think of a mall, you have 60, 70, 80 stores plus the movie theater, the food court,
employees.
You can't control how many people come in unless you put people at every entrance. There's no way to control that. And I think what's going to happen is they're going to do it in phases. They're going to allow businesses to open, but you're going to be limited to 10 or 15. You know, I know there's some places now, and it might even be in PA, where they're only allowing you to have like 20% of your max capacity. So if the mall's max capacity is
PA is not
whatever
one of the states that's opening up the beaches or anything. It's not like our dumbasses down here.
No, we're not opening any beaches. You're never going to see, you know, the headlines that say Pennsylvania man, you know, Florida man, you know, sounds like a better headline. Guys, it's just one of those things. And I'm not getting political, but I think this is one of the times where we can't be political. We can't look at who's right, who's wrong, just because of who's giving us the news. We have to listen to the doctors. We have to listen to the people that know this stuff. You know, people are dying. It sucks. You want to be outside. I want to be out doing stuff. We've never been through this before. You know, we don't have that experience with us to say, you remember back in 2020, if we would have put masks on and done this social distancing thing a month before we did, I think it may have helped. I don't know. I'd like to be hopeful, but you know, this isn't some Chinese conspiracy. This isn't 5G towers. And if you're one of those conspiracy theories, I'm so sorry for you.
You know what, though? I don't mean any negative, I don't mean to put anything negative out there, that anything that would affect Living Dead Weekend negatively, but there is a chance, just based on when this call might be made, that some are still going to be stuck traveling to the region. I may be one of those people. I may just opt to go ahead and visit the region. It's just because the next time or whenever. Okay, let me back up. Kevin did mention postpone. Not once in his announcement did he say cancel. He said postpone. So there is plans to pick the event back up.
I mean, we in America like euphemisms. Postpone and canceling are basically the same thing. I mean, if he's canceling the show, he's just going to hopefully move the guests to October. You know, it's not like he's going to postpone it a month. I don't know.
I'm more concerned about the venue being the mall. You know what I mean? I do enjoy the Evans City venue, but but the event to get to is the Monroeville Mall event. It gives you, there's nothing else that's going to give you an excuse to spend 15 straight hours in the mall.
Yeah, don't get me wrong. I mean, if October rolls around and they have it at the mall, I'll be super excited. I'm now starting to get people to ask me about the Blair Witch Experience, and I've been holding off at making any sort of announcement like that, even though I probably should. I'm a stickler. You know, I don't know what's in my DNA, but I'm a fan of routine, and I really sticks out to me if I don't do something one year that I've done for previous years. And this would be, you know, the 8th year for the Blair Witch Experience. And if I don't get to do it, it's really going to chew at me to not do it. But I can't I can't expect people to come to my very niche type event, when there's other conventions going on. I would probably end up canceling it and saying, look, let's do the convention stuff,
You
because
need
it's
with everybody looking to reschedule to October. You probably just need to think about November.
too cold.
Is it?
In PA, mid-October, it gets down into about the 40s at night, and during the day it just gets to be, it gets nice. It's in the 60s. You can get into the 70s in mid-October around here, and you'd be surprised. But when you're looking into November, now you're talking to the holidays, and I think people are probably going to be, already thinking about that. So if I have to postpone, maybe I'll do something in the spring.
Yeah, that's okay.
Or what I'm thinking is I might even just do, hey, it's a one day, no sleepover. Who wants to come meet me in Burkittsville at 9 a.m. and let's hop in the car and let's just get together, and have a good weekend. Nothing major.
Or have like a a get together at a local hangout, and everybody pick off the next morning.
Yeah, and I'm thinking of doing something like that. I'm waiting for all these other shows to kind of fall in line and figure out what they're going to do for September, October.
You already know October's booked anyway, so now it's every weekend times two.
Yeah, believe it or not, I usually, a lot of times I like to wait and find out when Kevin's doing his October show, because I don't like them to coincide. They ended up having to do that 2 years ago, and I hated it because I couldn't go to Kevin's show, and people that were Kevin's show couldn't come to mine. And I don't want anyone to have to feel guilty about choosing one or the other. We don't have enough time for that, and everyone's out having a good time. If Kevin came back and said, "Hey, I'm going to do it this weekend," I'd probably look and say, you know what, it's probably not going to work for me to do mine. And as disappointed as I am, I'd rather have everybody have to make one less choice and feel bad about it. Like, people are like, "Oh, I'm sorry, I can't come this year." I'm like, I get it. You want to come, that means more to me than than anything. And I know we want to financially support all of our friends, and we'll do that however we can. But I think if we do this again in 2 weeks, I'm hoping we have some better news. But I have a feeling, and this is what
deadline, May 8th.
Yeah, May 8th is when our stay at home is extended to.
That'll be the day after. It'll be May 9th.
And
our next video will be May 9th.
Yeah, I have and again, I think I said this 2 weeks ago, is whenever this is, whenever whatever state stay at home is over, they're not opening everything. There's not going to be a mad rush. Hershey Park isn't going to open right away. There's going to be limits. There's going to be restrictions as to what that is. It's whatever they tell us to do, and we just got to deal with it.
Well, I can tell you, though, I'm not stepping foot towards Pennsylvania unless that mall's open. I mean, if the mall's not open, that's the deal breaker. I can, I hate to say it, I could probably entertain myself for a few days without the Living Dead weekend occurring, and hopefully you would join me for a couple of days of action.
Yeah, but I mean, the mall's always the anchor. It's the centerpiece.
There's a chance that the damn Steel City Con will be going on. I mean, the Steel City Con's happening. I got a feeling Living Dead weekend's happening, unless there's something involving some complications with the mall opening. So
I have a feeling that Steel City Con is gonna have to cancel, because I mean, that's a big crowd.
Is it a Democrat governor in PA?
We do have a Democratic governor, yeah.
So it'll probably be later than sooner you'll open.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, we need to make sure we're doing the right thing for everybody. It's not about winning or losing. It's not about screwing over somebody or whatnot. This is health related. This isn't socioeconomic statuses. I'd be seeing the same thing if it was a Republican governor or independent or somebody, regardless of what my political leanings are. It's not the right place for that, but we got to make sure we do it the right way, because if you don't, we're going to end up back to where we are, could be worse, and we're going to be doing this for all of 2020 rather than a short portion of it.
Mm-hmm. So really, the only thing that's for sure is nothing's for sure, and all options are on the table. everything could happen, nothing could happen, some of it could happen. Either way, I have the intention of getting to Pennsylvania this year. It's gonna happen, and I'll put it out. We'll pick up some questions from the chat room later at the tail end of the show, but I'll put it out to everybody that's watching. What are your intentions? Are you kind of locked into travel? Are you canceled already? Are you on the fence waiting on an announcement? Let us know what you're thinking. Let's see. Well, that's all we had on that. The something I was thinking about putting on, or just something that or something I'd mentioned to Matt about talking about was our Romero white whale. Just something that everybody else. And I'll put it out to the listeners as well. Anybody that's on the video. Um, is there anything that everyone seems to be on board with in the Romero universe, be it his zombie or other films, that you just not feeling for whatever reason? I know we kind of pre-gamed it a little bit, and I know you were having a little bit of a hard time thinking about it because I think I know you kind of don't like some of his earlier works for a variety of reasons, but I don't think that you actually like express hatred towards them or anything.
Yeah, I don't like using the word hate. Like I've been having a lot of conversations over the last couple of days on the Blair Witch side. A lot of people have been talking about Book of Shadows, and I notice a theme is like people come out and say, "I know this isn't good, but blah 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 blah." And do I hate anything? No. I think there's a lot more disappointment on my end than anything. So in terms of Romero, what I probably dislike most. So I'm going to change my answer. I was going one way, and you kind of lean towards it with his earlier works. I'm less of a fan of his earlier works than I am of his later works. But one thing I tend to hate, and I don't want to say hate again. I don't like to use that word, especially in connection to George, because I don't want anyone to think ill of George or anything. In my opinion, one thing I don't like is people dismissing George's work from 1985 to 2009 as if it is something that is less than what they love, or it's something that is not worthy of carrying George's name. When I hear people say, "Oh, George should have just stopped," I hate that approach with George that some people take, is because we lived with George's films from night to day for so long, and there's so many people that haven't seen a lot of the stuff from Monkey Shines to Bruiser and kind of picked back up with Land. But it's a lot of the last four films that George made. People are like, "Oh, I don't understand why George did this," and I hate that, because there's a difference between appreciating someone for actually making a film and shitting over it because it's not what you wanted or what you expected. And I'll do that for any filmmaker. And I know a lot of people like to bust my balls about Zack Snyder.
Who, in what way, what direction?
I don't particularly care for Zack Snyder. Although my favorite.
That needs to be taken off the table, though, because I mean, there's certain Zack Snyder properties that you'll hoist up higher than anyone in the world will.
I like Man of Steel. I'm a big fan of Man of Steel, and trust me, he's tackled two of my absolute favorite properties: George Romero's Zombies and Superman.
Mm-hmm.
Is Man of Steel perfect? No, but it's probably one that I enjoy watching because I like it. I think Zack doing Watchmen and 300, literally, I could have pulled the comic book off the shelf and here it is. His work was done. He had to run the camera. Now, I'm not minimizing what directors do, but there's nothing to me that says that this is a Zack Snyder film. He's taken other properties and worked with them.
I don't really think. I don't know. Maybe I'm running in the wrong circles. I don't know of anybody that's trying to put Zack Snyder up there as some kind of anybody that makes like pop culture reference movies. That's the limit of his.
I mean, don't get me wrong. I like Watchmen. I just watched it for the first time fully through a couple of months ago.
I'm a big fan of Watchmen,
and I do. I like the comic. I like this
strong subject material, and as well as the Dead.
But when you watch Watchmen, you're not watching a Zack Snyder film. You're watching an adaptation of Frank Miller. Like Zack just happened to helm, and I know we're getting off on a tangent here, and I don't want to get off on a Zack Snyder tangent, but I'm kind of using him as an example. You know, to kind of go back in my lane. When people get on and saying, "Oh God, no, George should have just stopped with Day of the Dead. Nothing after that's good." I'm like, well, yeah, that's your opinion. You're entitled to it. You're not going to break my heart over it. But to me, it's always the approach that people really tend to shit on George for making his choices later in life. And anyone that kind of knew George, you could see a lot of George in those movies. Not just in terms of the social commentary, but some of the stuff he wanted. Yes, was there slapstick in there? Yeah, but George liked it. Who cares what George wanted to put in his film? Again, no filmmaker owes you as a fan anything. And if they make a film that says, "Look, I'm making this for the fans," watch out, because you're going to get something that probably even you don't want. Mm-hmm. So I think it's the tossing aside of anything George did post, Dark Half, really just just irks me. And I wish people would kind of soften up and just understand that, those are George's movies, not yours.
I do kind of fall into that camp. I mean, I don't wholesale, disregard all of his work beyond, but I would probably put I would probably draw the line in the sand at Knight Riders. And I do recognize Creepshow as a quality film. It's just not one that I personally hold dear. So it's really Knight Riders is where, and also there's really not much similarity between what we see on screen as far as style and content between Knight Riders and Creepshow represents a little bit of something new for George. But from Night of the Living Dead to Knight Riders, that's kind of my sweet spot. But I do enjoy work after that. I like Bruiser a lot. I'm coming around the land a little bit. But my White Whale, and I mean, I've kind of been on the record, many times over the years, just really Day of the Dead. I mean, it's just, we're about to bring a Day of the Dead fan onto the broadcast. So I'll measure my comments, but it's never, not once have I just embraced Day of the Dead and just been like, you know what, I do like Day of the Dead. No, it's never happened for me. It was a disappointment the very first time I saw it, and I'm, that said, I collect things for the film, so it's kind of hard to say that I don't like it. I'm interested in the making of it. There's people involved in it, but there's just all sorts. I don't know. It just never. I don't know. I never go back to it. I never watch it. I never think about it.
I think Day, again, and I could be. This is my opinion, and you can have a different view. There's always that stigma when you hear about Day of the Dead. Well, it's not the script that George wanted, and it kind of got lost for years, and then started getting re-celebrated in the 2000s. The movie doesn't change. It's the same movie that came out in 1985. It's all of a it got all of a sudden it was all of a sudden real cool to talk about Day of the Dead. Like when I got on the internet in the late 90s, there wasn't much Day of the Dead stuff out there.
Oh, by 2005, I did not want to tell anyone that I didn't like Day of the Dead.
It was like everyone kind of, they found Day of the Dead in the corner and brushed it off, and we're like, oh my God, this is like, I forgot about this. And I was the same way. I saw it as a kid. I didn't really know it was Day of the Dead until I saw it on the Blockbuster shelf and went home and watched it. I was like, holy shit, I've seen this movie before. I don't think there's anything wrong with Day. I think a lot of people celebrate Day just for the fact that, to me, it's probably George's best dialogue that he's ever written. I mean,
that's what I hate about it. It's like that.
and I think it's just one of those movies that people love to quote. It's got, I mean, the character of Captain Rhodes just, it sticks out, and I think that's what draws people to it.
But I mean, as far as like, I find that to be like least common denominator rage dialogue. That, I mean, I don't. There's nothing in it that's like, hey, that gee whiz, this is really good. I don't. You know what I mean? It doesn't strike me. You know what I mean? You see a good dialogue scene in another film, you're like, wow, that was powerful. I'm not getting that out of it.
And that's fine. And again, I'm never going to bust your balls for it, you know, or tell you need to watch it differently. You know, I joke with people a lot of times that they'll watch a movie that I love or that I think is really good, and they're like, I hated it. And I tell Matt Day this, and I think he's put in the group. I'm like, oh, you watched it wrong. Go back and watch it again this time correctly.
What movie was it?
Oh shit, I don't know. I tell him that at least once a month when he comes.
The movie wrong.
Yeah, I tell him, I was like, no, you watched it wrong.
When it comes to Romero, nobody's gonna convince anybody. I mean, we've seen everything 100 times.
Yeah,
so maybe, you know, a couple of those early on ones, maybe I could blame you on to something, but you know, other than that.
Well, you know what it is you have to be willing to sit down and put aside what you don't like about it and watch a movie. It doesn't mean you're going to like it. It doesn't mean you're going to change your tune on it. You're never going to change your tune on Day unless you want to. Unless you just happen to be sitting down one day and something has happened in the world, happened in your life, and you catch Day and it resonates and makes you feel happy or something.
How do you view Day in relation to Land? I mean, I'm kind of about even with them. I think Land's a little more fun.
Day is, to me, Day on every level is a better film. You know, production wise, George had a shit ton of money more for Land than he did for Day, but there's something about Day's grittiness and, you know, homegrown Tom Savini effects. Again, not knocking Greg, because I love Greg to death, but I think if Land had been made 10, 15 years...
There's no comparison between the effects. It's Day all the way.
Yeah.
That's not a
I think George's approach, mentality, and style of filmmaking over the 20 years between the two films changed. If Land had come out between 1990 and 1999, I think we would be having a very different conversation about Land in relation to the rest of the zombie films. But so much time has passed, the advent of CGI really, you know, catching on, and, you know, and Land was such a big scope. I mean, he had 15 million to make, you know, compared to whatever he had for Day. You know, it's a drop in the bucket, and he did fantastic with Day. But it's really hard to compare any of George's zombie films because they're made different decades, different eras, different Georges. You know, 60s George is different than 70s George.
Well, it is. I mean, it's not difficult to compare. I don't know. I mean, I can they're easy to compare. I just think.
I think they're easier to compare because people see them more as a more cohesive trilogy.
Mm-hmm.
You know, where Land comes so much farther. But I mean, even then, each film is its own. You can't compare them to, because he's not making them to build on one another. Right. You know, it's not like it's not like when you look at Terminator and Terminator 2. You can compare those movies. They're made by the same director, same stars. It just, one got bigger. But it's, and Will just put in the chat, you know, famous actors in Land distract you from it. Yeah, I can see that. I mean, adding Dennis Hopper, yeah, I mean, it's pretty cool. Dennis Hopper's in a George Romero film, sweet. But it was in a George Romero zombie film. I think if you would have added Dennis Hopper to a non-zombie film, like a Dark Half or a Bruiser, it might have landed differently. But again, 2004 filmmaking, the studio is gonna make you pull in bigger names, because now it's really about using all the names to make the movie. Rather than, this is a George Romero movie that I made, you're going to love it because George made it. Well, no, George made a movie with Dennis Hopper, Simon Baker, R.I.G. Argento, all these guys. So I get it. I mean, again, I know people apologize to me
Johnny
for
Legs, bro.
What's that?
Johnny Legs.
Johnny Legs. You know, people.
Legs and the guy that played Foxy, his boy.
Yeah, no, I liked him. I think there's a lot of good in Day, or a lot of good in Land. I just think, again, and I'll say this to the day I die, is you're watching Land of the Dead through the lens that you wanted to watch the original movies in. You wanted to be that kid discovering that magic. And as an adult, you got Land of the Dead, and you're like, oh, this isn't what I wanted. This isn't the George. And it's like, it kind of tainted. You know, it's, to me, that's how I feel people watch movies.
All right. Let's go ahead. We've got a special guest in the green room, so we'll go ahead and move on to the next topic. We were a weekly segment, a collector's corner. As Matt finishes the swig, I will let him announce our oncoming guest.
So we tried to get her on a few weeks ago. We had Bob on, and she wasn't able to make it, but good friend of mine, Sarah Nowak. I know some of you know her. Super, super awesome girl. Has been to a bunch of the Living Dead weekends, loves to hang out and have a good time. And to continue the theme, she is a big Day of the Dead fan, much to Eric's chagrin. But no, Sarah's one of the coolest people I know. Absolutely love her. And it's an honor that she was wanting to come on. So bring her on. I want to see her.
Uh-oh. Hello.
Hey, girl.
Hi. This is weird. I never been on the internet and trying to hear myself. It's very odd. Very odd. Hi.
Hi. Welcome.
Hi. Well, I changed my mind after that whole conversation, so I figured we could talk about my other love, 2004's Day of the Dead.
Uh-huh.
Dawn Dead?
I think we're having internet problems. Eric, can you get her? I think we're losing her.
I actually I don't mind the Dawn remake at all. I don't, obviously it's not up to the original standards, but I do enjoy it.
No one's interested in my $14,000 pair of Zack Snyder's underwear I paid for. We took a second mortgage on the house.
You know what? Look at the time. You know, my apologies to Matt Damon, but we're out of time. We'll see you guys next week.
Sarah Pauli's restraining order when I went through her garbage and got her Q-tips. Nobody cares about that. All right. Well, I guess
no. Let's see it. Right. Okay, hold on. How do we...
I second mortgaged my house. Now I can be respected in this community.
There you go.
The $14,000 paid for the whole budget for Suicide Squad and the special effects. So thank you, everybody. Thank you.
All right. So the document, what was that? Was that legit? No.
Please.
No.
No, it's actually, I don't even know what it is. I just had my props. I had to come up with fucking something once you just trashed the shit I'm coming out here to talk about. So.
No, Eric trashed the shit you were coming in to talk about.
So we have a friend coming on, but let's talk about this. But no, that's okay. I obviously, being a Romero fan, Day is thank God that Diary and Survive came out, because Day was always the one that got shitted on. So but it's funny, you guys were talking, I was like listening, because I had never known anybody who had seen it forever. So as a kid seeing it, I saw it for the first time, I think I was 12. I rented it for Movies Plus. It affected me. It's scared me. So I think that was a thing that nothing scared me anymore, because you're so desensitized. And I shoved it in a drawer and closed the freaking drawer in my desk. And then my mom had to pay $30 and a fee because I forgot it was in there. So to me, how it blew me away. So it's so funny. And then you're right. And then no one had heard of it. I know anybody. I suck with the internet. I know you guys have been on groups and shit forever, but I think there was it Homepage of the Dead, was a thing, right? So yep. I think by the time I found that, it wasn't even doing anything anymore. You know what I mean? So I was late to the game, and then so I was just happy to see that there were people that like this movie. And then once I got in the community, they're like, "Oh, Day sucks," and I'm like, "Oh, it does." Oh, I thought it was the best one. Oh, oops.
Oh, everybody was they.
I think when like Sarah said, Homepage of the Dead was really the first, big internet community that a lot of people found for George's movies, and a lot of people were just discovering George's original script, and they would read the script and be like, "Why didn't we get this movie? We got this piece of shit."
Nah.
So a lot of people shit on Day of the Dead.
Eric's like, no, it was awful.
Eric's like, yeah, nothing was gonna save that.
Really?
No, I don't like that. I don't think that script was going to make it this.
You don't think it would help?
Amazing.
No?
I mean, I'd be interested to see what happened, but it wasn't this revelation like, oh, gee whiz, that would have been the fucking amazing film there. That's not how I felt about it when I read it. I think it would have been about the same. I think it delivered the same kind of message.
I think it would have been
So
George's biggest production to date. I think it would have been his most ambitious. And I think when people look at what that could have been, just in terms of a technical standpoint, not quality, but like the scope that George wanted compared to what we got, people are like, well, look how much was left on the table. Why couldn't George have gotten this done? And they feel, again, because we elevate George. And a friend of mine, Mike Felsher, always liked to say is, and George always believed this, George is not a sacred cow. George was a human being. And George never thought of himself that way. So, we elevate George and George's movies. And we look at this, we get really, really pissed off at the shit that George didn't get to do, that we kind of shit on the stuff that he did. Because we knew the potential that George had to take on these big properties and to make these other grandiose films. I'm satisfied with what we got from George.
Yeah, even you when you were just talking about Land, I was, but I always say, and I always say this to Matt and our friends that we talk to, Bob and Sandy in our group constantly. I'm really easy to please. So, I mean, you can give me so little and I'm happy with it. But even Land, I was like, oh my God, we went and saw it like 4 times. I was so excited. I'm so happy with just anything. I'll take it.
I mean,
I love Land.
Okay.
I freaking love Land. I mean, Diary. I get motion sick though, so I couldn't handle that survival. But I wouldn't watch it. But it's interesting.
And again, like I said, the last 2 George films that we got were way more George than anything people had ever gotten.
Yeah.
Because at this point, what was he doing? He didn't want to make zombie movies anymore. Right. I know that for a fact. He told that to me, and he said that, in shows. He wanted to do other non-zombie stuff, and people kept giving him money to make zombie movies.
That bums
so
me
he's
out.
like, fuck it, I'm just gonna make whatever movie I want, and that's what we got. How many film directors can say they basically made the movie they wanted? I mean, the last John Carpenter movie we got was 11 years ago, and I guarantee.
Well, the only problem with that is that we know with those last couple of Grunwald pictures, he had full carte blanche. He could do whatever we want, or he wanted. So if we don't like it, we don't like what he wanted.
Right.
It's
right.
And believe me, I'm digging for gold there. I mean, it's tough for me to say like, hey, these films are trash because I have a couple of different copies of them and I watch them all the time. So I'm looking for something there. So we're not necessarily the audience that would.
I know, yeah, we
be the
don't
best
know.
judge of this, but
and again, you can love George and not like one of his movies,
right?
But it's how you treat George and how you say, look, I love George. I just didn't care for this movie, and that's fine. I don't care for some of my wife's cooking, but I'm going to eat it because she gave it to me.
You better. You bet. You better. She's a goddamn gem.
You
better.
You stay away from her. Down, girl.
She's an angel on earth.
She is. But I mean, I like analogies, and it's like, you know what? You come home from a long day at work, your wife cooks you dinner, and it's not really food that you want. So what are you going to do? Shit on her, or are you going to eat it? No, you're going to eat it.
You're going to eat it,
and again, but you're allowed to not like stuff. You're allowed to have opinions. But I draw the line when people shit on someone because they feel that they didn't get something that they wanted or that they feel they should have gotten. There, to me, there's that line, and I'll always have that line. People, say, oh, you were in Survival. God, I hated that movie. I'm so sorry. And I'm like, why are you apologizing to me?
Who would say that?
Like, don't apologize to me. That's fine. Maybe apologize to me if you thought my 30 seconds of screen time was shit, then maybe. but even then, I'm like, you know what? That's your opinion. That's cool, man.
Excellence.
Yeah, thank you. No, but I mean, it's there's parts of every George film that I don't particularly care for, but overall, I felt the man always tried to do his best. He never really phoned it in.
Right.
He played the hand he was dealt.
Sarah, what did you see Dave first, or had you seen the other two?
So the way my experience went was I had seen the original Night of the Living Dead at some point as a child. So there was no sort of like I could watch whatever I wanted as a kid, and my parents were really into horror movies too. So we would like rent horror movies on the weekends, randomly wherever we lived, and there was a store. So I had seen Night of the Living Dead as a kid, but then when I was old enough to go and rent stuff myself, that's when I really got into stuff. So I was about somewhere between 11 and 12. And like I said, I'd go to the Movies Plus and walk up there. And the thing that got me hooked actually was 1990, the remake. So that I think, so how old was I? I was born in 1990. No, I'm just kidding. So that was already on VHS for a couple years. So that was the newest one. So that was the shit that like got me. But I was always like a zombie freak. So I would rent anything that had to do with zombies. But 1990 was the thing that stumbled me into like George Romero. So I watched that heavily, and then moved on to Day and Dawn. And of course I love Dawn too, like everybody, but Day, man, that shit got me. It's so weird. It's like so funny when you talk to people and they're like, eh. And I'm like, really? Really? Because I mean, I watch it on the reg still. I love it so much. I just can't understand that nobody likes it. I'm like, what do you like that?
Well, some people, they will watch Dawn of the Dead and they'll focus in on like the corny music and stuff. I'm
Yeah,
like
the pie fight.
What the shit are you talking about? The music,
but that's everything else. But there's so much good in that. I know. I guess it's.
But some
like,
people just when it's fresh to them when you haven't watched it all your life.
Right. I guess that's it. Like if you were repeatedly watching it and like searching, like just searching for like the perfect zombie film, just like a crazy person. It was funny. Like Bob had said something 2 weeks ago, and I thought about like my friend's parents used to get a TV guide, and I would look in the TV guide to see if Night of the Living Dead was going to be on somewhere, and I'd like cut it out and like keep it. Like a weird horror.
We used to get
Right?
the local version was called TV Host, and it was magazine size.
Ooh.
And I used to go in the back with all the movie listings, and I'd
Yeah.
scan for the upcoming week. I'm like, Dawn of the Dead, and that was when they used to show Night 90 a lot on Cinemax, and that's how I got introduced to Night 90.
And I'm trying to know, is definitely because what's that movie that they show the preview for? It's like Hudson Hawk. Is that
Hudson Hawk?
Yeah. That was like before,
Yeah,
like
before
getting
1990.
pumped up. And then you're like August 23rd because they had said it in the movie, and like every August 23rd, I'm like, fuck yeah, this is like when you're a kid and you're just like weird, like you don't look that weird, but you're really fucking weird.
You get that grin on your face. You just can't contain it anymore.
Making all your friends watch this shit. And, God, ruining sleepovers and people's lives forever.
Yep.
Hey, Sarah, who signed your newspaper?
Oh, okay. So, all right. So, obviously, all right, here's the story of my beautiful newspaper. So, this is something that apparently everybody knew about. So, obviously, there's real copies of it that people have, which, oh my God, there's produced copies and whatever, but I didn't know that. So, mine, I actually got, we went to Horror Hound, and it was the, was it 2000 and was it 8, maybe 9, 10? And it was the anniversary, and it was in Indianapolis, and we flew down there, and that was the first time I met George, and that was rough. So, we stood outside and waited for like 3 hours, and I like was hyperventilating like a psychopath, like really embarrassing, like embarrassing stuff. And luckily, he thought it was adorable, and his manager thought it was adorable. Thank God. And he'd give me like an extra picture to get signed, and I was like crying and just embarrassing. Trying not to, but I'm like, oh, sign me and I'll get a tattoo. And he's like, I'm not doing that to a young girl. And I'm like, but I'm sure like, some of our friends have probably asked that before and pulled out their big hairy butts. And he was like, yeah, no more of that shit. So
I told you that story in confidence.
Yeah. So at the convention, it was like everybody was there. So this was my first real like day convention that I had seen everyone. Now, since then, thank God, we've had all these different, milestone years, and I'm at every one of them. But so Greg Nicotero was next to George's table. And, that was before, Walking Dead, when only, we knew who he was, So he was just chilling at the table. And so I went over to him next, and he was like, we probably talked to him for 25 minutes. And he was just like, oh my God, like, you're so adorable with your crying. And, George loves that and how sweet you are. And then he like showed me at all these like continuity pictures. And okay, I don't know this for sure, but like at the time, so he had all these pictures, and then like Lee was there, but I didn't know Lee then. Not that I really know Lee, but I think that they were doing shit with the books then. So he was there with some of the other actors. So he was like, oh, I brought these pictures for, and then now put two and two together. It's probably what it was about. And so I just like sat there with him, like on the other side of the table, and he just like showed me these pictures, and I cried and cried and cried. So yeah, I had never seen a copy of the paper before, but he had one. So Greg Nicotero signed that for me in like 2008, maybe. I mean, it must have been 25 years. So somebody do the math on here and figure that out. Yeah, 2010, really? 2010. All right.
Yeah, 2010. I'm looking at my paper that I got signed by Greg in 2004.
No,
yeah,
2004, of course.
Yeah, it's a little old school.
I didn't even know that there were conventions then other than Fangoria ones, like in New York, like in New York City. And I was like, holy shit, you can go there? Wow, it's crazy.
I got a paper from Greg in 2004, and then he was like, you want me to sign it? And I was like, nah. Like, nah,
I had never seen that before, so I had flipped my shit, and I'm like,
I bought it from him.
Oh my God! See, I wish if I could get it. I want a real one, of course, but like so, who everybody does. So yeah. So a lot of the stuff I collect. Luckily, I have a husband who will literally buy me anything day related at any cost. I'm a little cheaper. He's not. So, so he finds some pretty cool stuff. I don't have a lot of really cool props like some of you guys. I mean, I know there's like guys on here who like somebody has like the fluffy crate, right? I mean, like, you guys have amazing stuff, but
we don't talk about him.
We don't. We not speak of.
He's persona non grata.
But I mean, I know everyone's got amazing stuff, but we try to get some stuff. One of the cool things I really like that Dan had got me, one of these press kits.
Ooh.
Which is really awesome. Once again, like I suck on the internet. Like I don't like. So it's pretty cool, and it's got. To me, this was freaking amazing. Like I was in tears. Like just to have all this stuff written down, like from that. Oh God, and it's got beautiful, beautiful pictures. And I mean, I'm sure some of us already own some of these. Sorry about the light. It's got amazing pictures in it. Like I said, I had never seen anything like this. So when Dan bought this, I like just about died. I'm like, oh my God. Like, are you serious? This is a real thing. Like, it's just got the most gorgeous pictures, and it's just really special to me. Actually, this is pretty cool. I got this Knight Rider's picture, and
nice.
These are cool. We got them. We started getting conventions up in Buffalo now. And it was cool because it was like a vendor that I had never seen before. Because, you go to conventions, you see the same vendors, same sort of stuff. Like this guy had really random stuff. And then somehow I stumbled upon these Knight Rider pictures. And I was like, holy shit, that's really cool. So I'm going to try to move my phone here. I have it set up on the most ghetto thing you've ever seen in your life. So this is where Dan really shines. So he's purchased these for me. This was done by an artist named Chuck Jarman. It's freaking incredible.
Get close on him. Oh, look at there. That is realistic.
Yeah, when he bought this for my birthday last year. You know, and I have a almost 4-year-old son, and I really thought, oh my God, we really fucked up this time. Like, we're gonna have this in the house. And he said he did have a dream about it. And he's like, oh, it was trying to lick me. And I'm like, no, it's fine. So when we have friends come over, like children, I cover him up, and then he gets sad that Dr. Tongue, his friends, cover up and bub. And Dan bought me this beautiful bub, but I guess it was more of a pain in the ass to get this guy, so we're not giving him any credit. But
I like when I look at the small Dr. Tongue, it looks like Upton Pratt became
oh my God,
Dr. Tongue. It looks like the roaches ate him in Creep Show, and he became Dr. Tongue. That hair is just out of control.
It's gorgeous. This was actually done by a friend of ours in the groups, Jason Green.
Yeah,
he's incredible. And he did this little guy for me, and I love him so much.
And take commissions or
pardon? Does he? Yes. Oh my God. Have you ever seen his corral?
Oh, Jason did that. Oh, that corral was a great piece of work.
It's like even still, I don't know if it's still in, but in the Tom Savini school ad, Jason did a bub, and it was in the ad for years. And it like brings a damn tear to your eye. So when we became friends and stuff, and then he's like, oh, I did. I'm like, fuck you. We've been looking at that for years. You know what I mean? Like, there are a lot of bubs and Dr. Tongues and all kinds of shit out there, but to get like one that really like kicks ass, you know, just, oh, so yeah. We have a couple of, this is our little cabinet. Like I got this Fangoria, which everybody probably has, but you know, I got that for like, Dan got it for me for like my 25th birthday, and I had this huge party, and everybody's like, what the fuck is that? You know? And
the Dr. Tongue one?
Yeah, yes. Oh,
okay. Is that a bub candle?
Yes, he got this on Etsy for me. Isn't he beautiful?
Wow.
Yes.
What's the story behind the bub candle?
He found it on Etsy somewhere. Like, I'm telling you, he finds unbelievable stuff. I've had that for a couple years. I know we were trying to think like, oh, where did we get oh God, you know. Yeah. But yeah, this is just some of our little things. But this poster's pretty cool because it's an original art, even though it doesn't have anything to do with Day of the Dead, a Return of the Living Dead poster, because it was just some weird thing. We found it like a garage sale, and it's like on press board, and like the person didn't know what the hell it was, and it's like from the frickin' 80s. So we're so excited about that. You know, it's hard to figure out what you're going to hang up in your house and what you have room for and what you don't. So you guys know.
I know that feeling well.
I know we have like so many toys and collectibles and all this stuff. And it's just like, oh God, where are we going to put, you know what I mean? Like, you know, every time one comes out, you know, you're like, oh, I got to buy that. And then you're like, oh God, now where are we going to put it?
Think about that later. Just buy it.
It's it. We just buy it. Now it's like in a tote because we're like, oh, when we buy a house, well, now we bought in a house for years, and then we had this child, and we have to put its things somewhere, and
put the child in the tote, put the toys out.
And he's like, let me see these. I'm like, oh, I can't play with them. Can't play with them. But at least he likes it. Thank God we haven't scarred him too much emotionally for life. So
no, I remember when Reeve was probably 2 or 3, he would we'd be watching Dawn of the Dead, and took him to the mall one time, and we were inside of Penny's when it was still open, and they had the some of the windows on the sides. And I said, "Hey, Reeve, go up to that window." And I said, "What do Ken and Flyboy do on the windows?" So Reeve, at the age of like 2 or 3, is in the Monroeville Mall, knocking on the window, going, "Hey, ugly." Hey, ugly.
Yes, that's just good parenting. That's just good parenting.
So he got that in when he could. And, you know, now he's too embarrassed to do any of the cool stuff. But he'll talk about doing it. But when it's time to do it,
then he gets embarrassed.
Yeah.
Puberty gets in the way.
I'm like, son, just let me show you what I've done as a grown adult.
Right?
This is nothing compared to what you think it is.
Like he's been to a convention. He sees what all of us do. Right?
Oh yeah, no, he gets it.
He's
Then
been there.
he's in the eye rolling stage. He's like, "Oh, Dad, whatever."
I know, that's what makes me nervous because about Danny is, one day he's gonna like be like my parents are.
Nope, just
so
keep doing it
lame.
because they'll catch on. They're like, "Oh, you remember how cool you were when you showed me that you did that?" Don't worry.
Yeah, we'll see.
Don't worry.
He thinks I'm cool now, so we'll see.
Yeah.
Oh, Sarah, that bub, is that the only bub you have?
That guy, yeah, that's our only bub. I had to
Okay.
give him a haircut. Surprise! The hair was so bad on it. Poor Matt. I'm like sending him pictures. I'm like, his hair is terrible. I have to cut his hair.
Okay, so
But
that's,
yeah, he is beautiful. But Dan said the artist that he bought him from, it was less than a. It was a lot of trouble. So he was like, yeah, we're not. So it was kind of, but obviously he's really good because, I mean, been looking for bubs and whatever forever. And that's a really good one because there's a lot of questionable ones out there. Shit, I even like the bad ones, but, he's a little bit more, Dan's a little bit more, his standards are higher and he's the one, spending the money on it.
I trained my wife well. She knows what to look for.
Yeah.
And she'll because if she sees me go, I'm like, she knows not to get that one.
Oh,
So
yeah,
she knows where the line is. She knows where the quality line is and says, I'm gonna she does the same thing to me that Dan does. She'll find me that
Dan's is so freaking high. And
yeah.
I mean, of course he loves all this stuff too. I mean, we're lucky in that sense that like we like found each other and like the same weird shit. I mean, mine's a little bit one way and his is a little bit the other way. But so obviously this is why this can be in our dining room, like normal people. But yeah, his standard of like artwork that someone makes is pretty damn high. But he's also willing to pay for it. So shit. All right. Thanks. Happy birthday to me.
Yeah, a couple Christmases ago, Pam found one of the Monroeville Mall Hawthorne Village.
Oh, I remember that. Yes,
and it was like completely random because I hadn't talked about it in God knows how long. And she's like, you got to open that last. And I opened it. I was like, holy shit. Like, where did you find it? She goes, I found it on Facebook Marketplace. So someone in Central PA had it. And she like,
holy shit.
I was like, you got to be kidding me.
What a find.
It was just one of those things. So I give her more credit because she really does actually listen to me. Like random because I hadn't talked about it in God knows how long. And she's like, you got to open that last. And I opened it. I was like, holy shit. Like where did you find it? She goes, I found it on Facebook Marketplace. So someone in Central PA had it. She like
weird lag.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know what the hell happened. It's just all done. Yeah. But yeah, no, I mean, it's amazing how the spouse kind of listens.
Yeah. He's the best gift giver. I can't, I mean, and because he's like, I mean, I know everybody shops on the internet except me, but he's like so good at looking for shit, like he just finds stuff and I'm like, oh my God, where'd you find this? And just random stuff like, oh, I bought you this pin or I got you this. Or, like whenever a new collection, say like Freight Rags, sends out a new collection or something. And it's like, oh, here it is, like anything, he's really on top of all that. So
yeah, I gotta be careful with Christmas time because I give him a list and I'll say to Pam, I'm going to buy this. And she goes, is it on your list? And I go, maybe.
You got to make a list and check it twice.
Yeah, it gets hard around Christmas time when you start wanting to buy all the shit that you waited all year to buy in hopes that someone will buy it for you. And you're like, please just buy the right one.
Well, see, that's the greatest part for me is because I don't even know half this shit exists and he finds it. It's incredible.
And it's the complete opposite with me because she knows when it comes out, I buy it right away. And,
yeah, no, like I said, he's good with that. But yeah, and I'm so happy with anything. I mean, look how happy I am. Like with all my little collections, all my little cutie things.
Hey, Sarah, where do you guys stand with the Living Dead weekend right now?
How so? Like if it's going, we're going.
Okay.
Yeah, like obviously, I know, God, this stuff's so crazy. Well, I feel like we're so lucky. I mean, not as lucky as Matt because he like is an hour away from literally everything. Like it's unbelievable. He's like, I'm going to this show, and I'm like, where is it? And he's like, 45 minutes away, and I'm like, fuck you. But we live in Buffalo, so you know it's like 4 hours from Pittsburgh, which it's like, how freaking lucky are we? Like, I could have been born in Seattle, and then had to find my way here, you know. But
you live as far away from Pittsburgh as I do.
No.
Yes.
You're like an hour from Pittsburgh, aren't you?
I live in Hershey.
I don't know where that is.
That's 3.5 hours east of Pittsburgh.
No, really?
Yeah, Google Maps doesn't lie. So when you get off and you look it up, it takes me 3.5 hours to get to Pittsburgh.
Matt, come on. No, I didn't realize that. No.
Well, I mean, I'm out there all the time, so you might.
Right.
I might as well
I mean, it's like Pennsylvania, you know. It's like when someone's like, "Oh, do you go to New York City?" I'm like, "It's 8 hours away." No.
Yeah. Yeah. It takes 6 hours to drive across Pennsylvania and almost 4 to drive north and south.
Holy shit.
Yeah.
Wow. The more you know. All right, I'm learning today.
Yeah, there you go.
But so yes, to answer your question, yes, if it's going on, we're going. It's obviously it's pretty important to us, and especially this one to me because it's a day one. So you know. Met everybody. We've heard all the stories, but I'll just keep going. We'll just keep going to forever. Yeah. And then I love Return too. So that's extra exciting, which of course I think the last couple of Return of the Living Dead conventions near us I've been to in the last couple of years too, but I'll keep going. You know, we can't ever stay away from the mall.
Nope.
No.
We're so brings lucky. Us all together.
Right.
It's our playground. I tell people, they're like, what is it about the mall? I said, imagine.
What is it not about the mall?
I said, imagine you're a fan of either Star Trek, Star Wars, Titanic. You get to go play on the set of your favorite movie.
Right.
I said that's the only thing I can tell you what it is.
You know, it's like incredible too to go because you think about like all the times you went to any other, like, well, maybe this is me, but you know, like you see the movie and you're so excited, and then you like go to JCPenney's as a kid, you know, some other JCPenney's, and you're like, oh, it's like, you know, like, and then you actually go, like, freaking, it blows my mind.
The Harrisburg Mall, it's like 10 minutes from where I grew up, and when we went out there in the 80s and 90s, Penny's was right in the middle. Right where it is.
Really? Yeah.
It was recessed a little bit, but they had the plants and the fountains and everything, and I always made me think that was the mall because every time I go out there, I'm like, this is so cool. It's like being in the movie. And then when you're a teenager and you finally find out where the movie is and you can go, but like that's every time I went to that mall with my mom, I always thought of Dawn of the Dead. Right. I was like, this is the coolest thing ever.
And then you get to go there. You get to go there one day.
I know.
I think that these people just go there and they think it sucks. And you're like, I'm just sitting. Oh God, it's like the ultimate. Now that's who I need to talk to. I need to talk to somebody. Somebody get on it. Get me in those mines. Get me in the mines.
Yeah, have you been to the mines? And I know Matt hasn't been there. Like,
no.
I could get just about Day of the Dead, but I think I've been in the mines a couple times.
Of course you have. You don't give a shit. Of course you've been there. I mean, why? Why? Fuck. Why not?
Yeah, I mean that's probably the one location that the one major location that I've yet to get into. I mean, we drove up there in October on the hopes and prayers that someone would let us in. Right. And we, you know, that was an hour and a half out of our day. And, you know, but I got to go. It was the first time I actually ever been to the Wampa mines. And, you know, we got denied, but it was still fun to go. But,
yeah,
you know, I just,
hopefully someone can figure, I mean, I know like Larry keeps trying and I know that people are trying, but I just, oh God. But honestly, if it does happen and it's in some convention setting, a group setting, I will be embarrassing.
Oh, you know, if I get there, you know, I'll text you and you'll drive down. You're going to call off of work.
Fuck it. I don't care. Nothing's keeping me from. I'm like a couple hours away. Who cares?
What about What about Fort Myers and Sanibel?
Well, it's funny because you talk to people about. No, I've never been down there either, but luckily too, some of our friends in the group have gone and take those pictures, and it's so awesome. But you like talk to people just like at work, like oh, guess where I went here and I went to Sanibel. I'm like, do you even? And they're like, eh. I'm like, oh, my favorite movie was there. And like, oh, something weird. And I'm like, yeah. It was like filmed there. And they're like, really weird. I'm like, well, I'll just see, but just so funny. Like such just a place that these people go and they don't even know. And it's like someone me would be like, oh, like crying and snotting all over myself. It's unbelievable. I just recently had a client, they stayed on like some condo, like on the island. And it was like thousands of dollars. And they're like, oh, it was boring. And I'm like, well, did you bring back a seashell or anything? And they're like, oh, I didn't know you liked it. Why do you like it? Like, never mind. You're 70. You don't understand. You're rich. You don't know.
Somebody had made a comment where you had said, people.
I don't know how to read the comments while this is going on because
you had mentioned that people go there all the time that hate the mall, but I think what you meant was just people that live around there that don't know.
No, they don't
know what it is. They just go there and like, whatever, I'm going to. Forever.
No, they don't care.
I remember in 1999 on my second trip to the mall, I went by myself and I went to Suncoast Video, which is upstairs by Saga, where Spencer's Gifts is. And I bought a copy of Dawn of the Dead on VHS. And I was in the mall.
Oh.
It's right next to Saga, right?
And yep. God. It was right next door to it. And I remember thinking, okay, don't say anything. I just put it on the counter. And the person behind the counter didn't say a word about that movie being filmed there.
So heartbreaking.
And it was like, oh, you don't even know it's filmed here.
You don't
like
even
this
know.
And I was like, oh, I gotta buy a copy of the movie that was filmed here. And I kind of wanted to say something, but it was like back in the day when they didn't want anything to do with it.
Oh yes,
I didn't want to draw any more attention to myself than what I was probably already doing. So,
and sometimes people don't. This is always my issue with anything I like. And luckily, and honestly, until I got to like meet certain people, like we would go to conventions and I couldn't make any friends. And I'm like, be my friend. And they're like, oh. But I had seen in the early 2000s, I was at a restaurant and I saw a kid in a Day of the Dead t-shirt and I like flipped and I start, like running at him and I'm like, oh my God, that's my favorite. And he like looked at me and he goes, I was wondering what crazy person was yelling across the restaurant. And that's all he said. And he freaking walked away. And I'm like, are you fucking kidding me? Nobody knows this shit. Nobody knows this movie. It's like 2005 or 2000. I don't even know what year it was. It doesn't even matter. Me and you are the only people who know this movie. We should be connecting right now. We should be connecting. And his girlfriend had a Canadian tuxedo on, which I don't know if you guys know what that is. If that's a regional thing because we're by Canada.
No, I know what that is.
Yeah, jean jacket. And she... And I want to be like, fuck you. We're supposed to be best friends now. And we weren't. And it was really sad.
It was like really that scene in Step Brothers. Did we just become best friends?
Oh, my God. It happens to me all the time. I got to stop. Once at the gym, a kid was wearing a Day of the Dead t-shirt, but he was a little awkward. But, I like ran up to him while he's on the treadmill. And I'm like, oh, my God, me and you. And he was like, nah. So it's a bummer. But it's like, seriously, when you see something like that and no one else knows, like, how are we not? Like, it's not like you're wearing, I don't know, a Beatles t-shirt and you're like, oh, hey, John Lennon. It's like, oh, yeah. I mean, seriously. Like, that guy should have been my best friend, but he wasn't. And it really made me sad. And I ate 3 more plates at the Old Country Buffet. It was a really sad moment for me.
I mean, I'm wearing my Cruel Intentions shirt today, and I wear that out every once in a while, and someone will be like, whoa, like that shirt, because you don't see that.
Yes. And you should. It's excellent filmmaking.
It is. And so when you see Day of the Dead, there's just something that triggers you, or any George-related film.
Yeah, I can't help myself. Like, I mean, even like you might see a punk kid with a Night of the Living Dead patch or something, and there I am trying to talk to that kid, and they're like, yeah. My favorite band's the Red Hot Chili Peppers, and that burns you because a lot of people wear the T-shirt because sell at Target, whatever. And that has come to bite me in the ass a couple times where I'm like, oh my God, And like the one time the girl's like, "This is my brother's shirt," you know, and you're like, "Oh fuck, I thought we were gonna connect," you know. And you know, I have a tattoo on my ankle. I'm like pulling it out. I'm like, "Yeah," you know. And they're like, "No, no, we're not about that. I can't connect with the humans." But seriously. But yeah, that's great. That's sad to me that you bought that VHS in the mall and the kid working didn't even say like, "Oh, hey,"
Nope.
like no human connection with that. That
No,
makes me
no.
so sad.
I feel bad for them. It was a lost opportunity for me to
Right.
share some knowledge and,
Right.
be proud of where you work. You work at a Suncoast, first of all,
Right.
in the Monroeville Mall, and you're selling a movie that has put this mall on the map. And
Holy shit! Right.
You don't care.
I mean, I know this is really. Can you believe that we got to see Dawn in the frickin' mall?
That was
Like,
cool.
I just like I think
me and
about
Matt
that.
saw it. I think you went off and got a little
Yeah.
of,
Yeah, you left a little early if I recall. No, that was Sandy and Pam. No, Sandy and Pam left.
Oh
Yeah,
no,
I
you
was-
stuck around. I'm sorry.
Yeah, Sandy and Pam left to get a little wasted. And that was actually the
Oh,
second
yeah.
time I saw that in the mall. When they
Oh.
opened the theater, they were showing Dawn for like 3 nights.
Oh my god.
And I went out to one of the Saturday night like midnight screenings.
Oh, when
And-
they
Yeah.
opened, CMX.
yeah, back in like 2013.
It's not a CMX. What is it?
Cinemark.
Cinemark. That's right.
Yeah, so it was nice of them to show it when they first opened the theater, and then during the Living Dead week. Actually, sorry, that's the third time I've watched Dawn of the Dead in the mall. The first when Horror Hound was there in 2008, they showed it down in the one big empty court where the Living Dead weekend does. They did a big blow up
okay.
screen. So yeah, it's still
that's
fun.
cool. Oh god, what an amazing thing.
Now we got to watch Day of the Dead in the Mines. That's the last thing we need to do.
Just you could just die right there. It doesn't even matter. I've accomplished everything.
Just bring an iPad and sit in
Just
the
let me
corner for
die.
90 minutes. That's it. That's all we need.
The first time I saw Day on big screen, I saw it. I don't think this happens anymore. It's called Erie Film Fest. So it was in Erie, PA, and it was a really small one. And actually, George was supposed to come to it. And this might have been 2004, 2005.
Yeah, I think it was 2005, 2006. Yeah, I remember that. I remember that show.
And so Joe was there and Eugene. So that was cool. But other than that, I mean, it's like such a small show. But they played Day on the big screen, and I'd never seen. I mean, I've seen it a couple times now, but like just to see it in a movie theater, like holy shit. I mean, other than the drunken people yelling at the screen, and I can't even remember which one. There's someone, they're like, "There's Bud, and you're like, "Oh god, dude, you're so hammered." You're like, "No, I can't remember which one. Maybe that was Cinema Wasteland. I don't know." But it's like, there he is.
At the 3D screening, though, we were very well behaved. I was expecting kind of a raucous atmosphere, but it was reverent, like we were all
we're all crying. Well, I wasn't. Like, oh god. Like,
we were celebrating the fact that we were watching Dawn in the theater, and we weren't there to cause any other disruptions. And that was just, everyone cheered at the right time and laughed at the right time. And, we were just so thankful that we could sit in the Monroeville Mall and watch Dawn of the Dead. Like, that's the crowd you want to be watching a movie in that atmosphere with.
Right. I know. I'm so glad that the mall, I mean, it's sad that, malls are dying, but like, hey, at least now they give a shit about the movie and they let us do all this cool stuff in the mall.
Yeah. No, that's true.
We lucked out that way. So.
Yep.
Maybe storage will have some sort of decline and then they'll let us in the mines. Nobody wants to store their stuff anymore now. Come on in. Let me in there. I'll never leave.
Whenever I hear about it, it always kind of throws me off is that basically anytime one of these events like a Living Dead weekend is not going on, they're not cool with people just poking around the mall. You know what I mean? Like it's okay during
but then other than that, like
really? We had a friend of ours October, was it last October? No, October before last, we had a friend of ours that was taking some pictures at the mall, and obviously the October event is in Evans City, but somebody was taking pictures at the mall and security took notice and
really
saw fit to
I think it's just depending on how you act.
I've been really blessed to have friends who know security guards and been able to poke around the mall in some pretty good ways, so been a little lucky that way, but that's really a bummer.
I mean it's again, it's a business, and there's certain things you should and should not be doing in a public place. But again, it's all on how you act and conduct yourself.
Yeah, just how you smearing fake blood all over anything or acting like an
Yeah.
asshole. And,
Yeah,
you know.
seen that, been there.
Yeah.
We have seen that happen. Somebody got some blood on the George bus
Yeah.
here. It's like, what the hell?
Yeah.
Just like, I know. Or the poor airport. There's another place, the airport. That's where I need to go to. I need to go to the airport.
Been there yet?
No.
You've never been there?
Oh my goodness, that's a quickie.
All right,
I know
well-
you guys have. I know we've talked about it, but we always have we always have my son, and we bring we bring my in-laws to watch my son, so we can like go tinker around, So
It's
yeah,
close, though. It's literally like a 5-minute ride.
yeah, we need to do that. I know I'd like to see some of the creep show stuff too, because I mean that's just crazy. It's just right there.
So you have the full-on everybody pile into a car, go out into the country type thing yet?
No,
Okay.
I'm missing out.
You are.
We'll do that when June comes around.
All right, fingers
right.
crossed.
All right.
Well, what's something you're looking to visit that you haven't had a chance to get to yet, location-wise?
So yeah, I'd like to see. I mean, the creep show. Like you can go to the house. There's parts around the college you can go to, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, there's all kinds. I mean, I've seen it just on your guys' stuff, and I'd really like to go there. Obviously, the airport. That's pretty easy to go to.
Mm-hmm.
And then like I said, my top thing is the mines. Like I don't know, somebody. I know they're trying to make it happen, but I know somebody's got to figure it out. Like I'll pay. I don't even care. I will pay. I will give you money. Like figure it out. Like I know they need money. Everyone needs some money. Like I will give you money. Let me fuck it in there. Just let me wander around and cry. Just let me go in there.
We need to get in touch with a staff member who wants to hang around for a couple of.
I know. What do we got to do? What do we got to do? What do we got to do? Let me in there.
We'll get you there.
Yeah, hopefully. I think eventually they'll wear down from like being asked however many times a year and being saying like, hey, like we'll pay, like let us in there, please.
I'm gonna feel guilty if I go and you're not there.
Seriously.
I like this terrible film.
We'll call
I know,
you.
You don't even give a shit. That's the worst part. Like it's like one of my hi, my name's Sarah Nowak. I like Day of the Dead and Red Hot Chili Peppers. Like I'm the nerd. Like it's one of my like top qualifications, so I deserve to be in there.
Well, like G.I. Joe, they say, knowing is half the battle. Well, being there is the other half.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, just being lucky. Just being lucky, I guess.
Yeah. Well, we'll get you there someday, and if we come down in June, we'll spend the time and get you where you want to go.
Yeah, hopefully everything will figure itself out.
It will. Well, don't worry. There's enough time. There's, Eric and I spent 2 days?
2 days, at least 2 days. It was probably 4 days, wasn't it?
Well, yeah.
Which one?
October we spent 2 full days.
Mm-hmm.
And then basically June was, you got there Friday?
I think I got, we were usually there Saturday to Sunday.
Okay.
So it's kind of short-lived with the little one.
Yeah.
No, y'all got to hang out y'all got to put at least 4 days in.
Oh,
You do.
We haven't even left him overnight yet. I know this is so boring to everyone watching. They're like, no one gives
leave
a
him.
shit. Nobody
Leave him.
wants to hear about your kid. But yeah, we haven't even left him overnight yet. So I was kind of planning it, but then the fucking world came to an end, and now I'm never going to be able to leave because I'm here all day with him. And he's like, "You're not going back to work, are you?" And I'm like, "Someday." And he's like, "No." He told me last night he doesn't want to grow up because he doesn't want to live somewhere else. Like this is screwing him up. I'm like, dude, like it's all right. Like, oh God. Me being around all the time is really.
That's totally a mom thing. I'm like, get out.
Yeah, oh yeah. No, I'm
Get
like,
out.
all right, good. Yeah, I know I'm brutal.
Yeah, do a trail run soon with the parents on either side.
Yeah, it was a plan. I was thinking, maybe we'll do like overnight or I don't know. And then
kids
like
are resilient. They will adapt and they will get over it. It's don't worry about it.
They said these children, this kid doesn't even have any trauma like I did. And he's like, you know.
Just like, forget him someplace. Like, go to the store and just forget him somewhere. Like, you got to kind of get him into it.
He'd probably go home with somebody. But like, yeah, he's so friendly. He's like, hi, hey, I'm Danny. Some chocolate. Okay, bye. He's like me. Like any human. Like, you want to be my friend? No. Hey, we won't be friends. Right.
He'll see someone with a Red Hot Chili Pepper shirt on and go, my mommy likes it.
Right. And they'll be like, I don't even know this stupid band. I got this shirt for free. They're like, fuck you. Why are you wearing it? You're bumming me out. I got this Day of the Dead shirt for free. No, you didn't. Be my friend. Nobody likes this movie. Even the people who are supposed to like it don't like it. So now we're bound for life. Now talk to me about it. But they don't want to. But I found my friends now. I found you guys, so it's good.
We love having you.
Yes.
All right, you want to go through some of these questions, Matt? Let's see.
Sure.
Not necessarily questions. Do you want to hang out, Sarah? Or do you...
Oh God, I don't. Look, I tried to switch back over. I can't see. I don't even know what I'm doing.
Okay.
Come here.
Let's see. I can't go back to the beginning, but Will.
Here, you can say hi real quick. All right, you can say hi, and then we can leave.
Okay. Danny. Hi, buddy.
Yeah.
Hi, buddy.
He's like,
do you see? We're on the internet. We're viral.
You're on.
All right.
I can see you on me, Daddy's phone.
Oh, you're watching. Oh, Daddy was watching it. It's nice. All right. Okay. All right, we're gonna go. I love you guys.
All right, love you too. Thank you. Bye, Danny.
Hopefully, see you in 7 weeks.
Let's hope.
All right, Mel, that was fun.
Yeah, no, love her. She was like, wait, how do I do this? I said, I literally send you a link and click on it. That's all you need to do.
Okay, yeah, that's cool because I really haven't seen that side of it. Maybe next time you can just do the hosting and I can experience the other end of it. But
yeah.
I don't know why that for whatever reason the bub bus that she has, I thought it was more, I don't know, just more bulky. It's smaller than I was expecting it. That's why
I haven't seen it in a while, so I was like, oh yeah, no, I remember that.
Well, when you did the glamour shot, I don't know, it looked more like
the
bus size. Like
I guess
size.
Yeah.
Will says he wishes they could have had a bigger budget for his later films. And I mean, obviously, I can't disagree. As bigger budget's always nice. I don't think. I don't know. You. I'll let you expand on it. I don't think it. I don't feel that he was restrained in those later films.
I think he was, because when you look at the last 3 films that George did, the prevalence of CGI. And I guess it's you get what you pay for.
Yeah.
I just remember there on Survival, when they shot me, they put the prosthetic on and then CGI'd it out and then added the blood and did everything later where, there was, no one pulled a button off my head.
Yeah.
A lot of that, especially in terms of headshots, a lot of that stuff is just done completely CGI.
One take.
Yeah. I did 3 on mine, but he had 2 cameras. I think if he would have had, like when I say twice the budget, you're talking $4 or $5 million. If he'd have had twice the budget, he probably would have had more time to do this stuff and not.
Was he under a release date, Gun? I don't think so.
I think it was a production date. Like they needed to have it done because Survival was shot in 2008. It didn't come out for 11 months. I was up there. I mean, he basically shot all of October of 2008. I think it was like a 34-day budget or 34-day shoot, and. It came out in September of 2009, so I think they needed to have it done so that it could get into festivals and get, have the opportunity to get out at a certain time.
True.
I think Land was really the the last film he worked on that probably had a production date or a release date set. But I mean, you know, he had what, 15 million for Land, and you know, it shows. I mean, it shows the quality, and you
Is
know,
that the actual number? I always thought it was closer to 25.
I think it's 15 to 20.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it was
it's. I mean, outside of some of the lower end, you know, some of the cruddier CGI moments, it's a big time Hollywood film.
Well, I mean, just from the set design.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, I guarantee you, a large portion of that budget was for set design, building Dead Reckoning and building, you know, the exterior sets and the interior stuff. I mean,
I think that the set. I mean, like, it's actually a little better than something like Resident Evil 2. I think was like shot in Toronto. It does not look as good as Land of the Dead.
Yeah, and those movies are just made to get out because the property itself is going to make money.
Right, but they have a pretty slick look. They have a high dollar look to them.
Yeah, it could be the production that, you know, it could be the cameras you use and whatnot. You know, I'm assuming that, you know, a production like Resident Evil is going to get a better price on effects and CGI than George would. You know, not to
they would spend more on it.
Yeah,
because it's the same people doing the work. You're right. I mean, it's K&B, top notch effects. But if you're going for cut rate, I mean, it showed. There's a couple. I mean, you know them as well as I do. There's just a couple of moments in the film that just could have been better.
Yeah, and I mean, you know, budgets don't go as far today as they used to. You know, but small budgets work for certain types of film. But when you're trying to do grand scale stuff like George normally did, it drives, you know, that money goes like that. You know, when
you got favors, unless you got a friend with them all.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. You know, yeah, low production can work for, you know, self-contained, you know, horror films, you know, with one or two zombies or one monster, but you know, getting everyone made up as zombies every night for almost 3 weeks, 4 weeks, that chews up your budget real quick.
So Matt Landrum says, I saw Diary in the theater during its limited run. While I enjoyed it, I was so used to the original trilogy and Land that it didn't land 100% for me. No pun intended. I had separated from those films to further appreciate Diary. Man, I tell you what, I saw it. I saw Diary at least twice in the theater. I tried so hard to like that thing because it really. There's a lot going on in that script that there's a lot of interesting dialogue in the way the double entendres and the way that, you know, the double meanings that a lot of the dialogue references, but ultimately, I mean, the entire project doesn't, you know, it's not a home run.
Yeah, that was Diary is my least favorite of his zombie films, and for a few reasons. Mainly, I think he went really heavy-handed with the commentary and the voiceover. I think if you would have re-edited the film and got rid of the voiceover, probably would have landed a lot better.
I won't even watch it because of the Michelle voiceover.
That's what drags it down for me. I don't know if I would like it more than Survive. You know,
her voiceover, it's really the character, like the one sequence.
Her interactions with Jason are really, really off, and I don't know if it's the character
good enough for you.
Yeah.
Again, it's just like
I don't know if it's her and him that don't match, or if it's the dialogue or the characters, but the chemistry is off with them, and everyone's kind of very angry and very cynical.
Yeah.
You know, the idea of Diary is good. The execution falls flat, and I think George
would be so much better today because it's a little like at the time it was all about MySpace and this, you know, with like Facebook Live and YouTube today, it makes more sense.
And maybe it was ahead of its time, you know, because they do touch upon those streaming aspects and the going viral on the internet.
Mm-hmm.
That was really the beginning of the YouTube era. YouTube had only been around for about 2 years, 3 years at that point. Social media was just really starting. with MySpace in 2006 to 2007. So, if you want to look at it from that perspective, George was kind of ahead of the curve using it, but did it do what it could have done to really be the foundation for later films? And it wasn't. I think it was a little bit out of George's wheelhouse to do that type of film. If it wasn't fully found footage type, maybe with elements of it, but not the actual presentation being done that way.
Some of it worked, some of it didn't,
Yeah.
Some of it seemed, obviously, we've seen dozens of these kind of films now. Some of them seem more contrived. I thought some of the sequences worked well. I like the Nicotine Crockett or whoever is to be in this. I like his sequence. I like the where they end up at the shelter with the African American guy who kind of looks like the guy from They Live.
Yeah, Keith David.
Keith David, yeah.
Yeah.
He's got a Keith David vibe. I like that guy a lot. He was on to something. It just didn't quite click with that generation.
Yeah, I think it was either too soon or the execution wasn't right, and it could have been a combination of both. I love Diary for the fact that it's a very early Tatiana Maslany role, and I'm a huge fan of hers in Orphan Black, and she's got that connection with being in a George Romero movie. So I'm excited to meet her one day and talk to her about Orphan Black and what it was like to work with George. I was excited for it. I thought, oh, this is cool. George is going back to the beginning, and he's gonna do this found footage type thing. And you don't hit a home run every time, and it's okay. It doesn't take away from the other films in the series.
Yeah, we'll have to do a deep dive on it soon.
Yeah.
Let's see. Hands down, it's not even a question. I'm a Return guy. I'm just going to, I find that the dialogue, when we talked about the dialogue in Day of the Dead earlier and how it's got that Rob Zombie level of just intense, I don't know what you'd call it. It's like a guttural intensity not seen in many films, but I do see it in Day of the Dead. But Return of the Living Dead, the script for that, I find amazing. It's like a stage play. I don't know. I don't know if me and you have ever even talked about this film. I don't know if you're a Return guy or not, but it's one of my favorite films of all time, regardless of genre.
I prefer Return of the Living Dead Part 2.
I like Return 2.
I like it more than Return of the Living Dead.
We have talked about
that. I think Return is a great film. I do. I think it warrants the accolades that it gets. I don't
think Day is quotable. Return is everything is a quote. Every line is a quote.
I'm not. I have Return of the Living Dead on Blu-ray. I watch it once, twice a year.
Well, there you go.
It doesn't stick with me like Return 2 does.
Once or twice a year, but it doesn't stick with you.
Well, it's one of those things where I always preferred the second one. I watched it more as a kid. It just
I like it.
And that was just I just liked it. I have nothing against Return.
Clearly,
but it's not. It's
twice a year.
What's that?
Twice a year. I don't know if I watch Return twice a year.
I give it at least one of the watches on, what is it, July 4th or July 3rd. And then every once in a while it's just like, oh yeah, I'll watch Return and I'll put it on. Because I think sometimes there's a part of me that feels bad for not celebrating it like some people do. And I'm like, okay, what am I missing?
You watch it twice a year, you're not missing anything.
I
think you got it. I think you figured it out.
No, but Return 2, I'll watch. If you gave me a choice of having to watch that and something else, I'd probably pick Return 2 over a lot of other films.
I think a lot of people get hung up, and it's not just you. Everybody does this. They're like, yeah, but I like this more. And it's like, well, but that's an entity in and of itself. You can like them both. They're mutually exclusive.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of people, I've got this one guy at work. Every time I mention Tarantino, he's like, yeah, but Rodriguez is... But they're different people.
Oh, yeah. Two totally different types of filmmaking.
It's let's talk about. But some people are just like that. They pair things together.
Yeah, I mean, I like Return of the Living Dead. I just don't celebrate it. And I think that's a lot of what I see is people are like super celebrating Return of the Living Dead, and it doesn't hit me that way. Like I said, nothing wrong with it. I like it. It's enjoyable, but I don't celebrate it like I do other films and that resonate more with me.
Yeah, but like the quotable. I mean, it's just like literally every line is a quote, and I've got a little bit of like that particular film. It took me actually a couple of viewings to finally sit through the whole thing, because although it's revered as a horror comedy these days, I don't know, for whatever reason, when I'm trying to take this thing in at like 10, 11 years old, it's not hitting me that way. I mean, I found it actually quite disturbing. Let's see. Will, you're top of the pops this week. Land needed more character actors. I don't know. I mean, with Johnny Legs and Dennis Hopper in there, how many more character actors do you want?
Yeah, but when you watch a movie with Dennis Hopper in it, you're watching Dennis Hopper.
By that,
there's
character actor though. He was not a headliner. He was taking work.
Yeah, but he's still Dennis Hopper. I mean, you watch a movie with Arnold in it at this day, you're still watching an Arnold movie. Right. He doesn't, it's like you said, when you talk about Foxy and all these guys, I couldn't, I mean, I knew who Simon Baker was. I couldn't tell you anything he had been in, but I kind of knew him. And a lot of the other guys, they're okay. There's one or two people I probably would have cast differently. I mean, I like Leguizamo in the movie, but it's still John Leguizamo. It's... That role wasn't written specifically for him. It wasn't specifically tailored to him once he got cast.
You're saying exactly why Romero's earlier work is superior, because there's nothing attached with these actors. You don't recognize them like, hey, that's Luke Skywalker and something else.
I mean, look at Peter Stormare and Bruiser. I mean, Peter Stormare at that point had done really like Fargo, Armageddon. But he wasn't Peter Stormare. Like, when you see Peter Stormare in a movie now, I like to say if I'm watching a movie and he shows up, I'm like, oh, surprise, Peter Stormare. Then I instantly start watching because I know his work, and he always plays the same. He plays himself to a certain degree, one way or the other. He doesn't get lost in a role.
Let's see, Mark. He's talking about when we took us to the Day site. Oh, Silo site. Okay, Silo site from Day. He cried a little. Depends on where you come into Georgia. Saw Day in an empty cinema when it came out and fell in love with it. Wow, I didn't realize that particular location had that effect. I mean, I know we had a good time. It was fun.
Yeah.
Because you pulled up and I'm like, oh yeah, that's a fight. And went, okay, well, let's mill around for a minute here and burn some daylight. But no, suddenly we got a reenactment going with prosumer camera equipment going on. But yeah, no, that was quite a reenactment there. I had a good time when otherwise I was just like, whatever, it's a plot of sod. There was really not much to it.
But that's what I love about fans of George's movies is we'll turn the worst looking opportunity into a memorable experience. And I mean, the fact that we filmed that and lined it up with the audio from the movie, really, like I wasn't expecting that when we got there. That was kind of like a just on a whim kind of thing. I'm like, hey, let's just all do this and, have a blast. And even doing that at the Creep Show house and, having the ability to do that. And that's the great thing about George's stuff. He filmed it in an area that people are just super awesome. The people in Pittsburgh, more or less are some of the greatest people in the world. And I agree. And that's, and again, if I was able to see Day of the Dead in the theater and it was empty, I would probably love it more just because of that experience of sitting in an almost empty theater. I think adds something to watching any movie.
I saw Night of the Living Dead 1990. I want to say it was on its opening night. There was maybe 3 people in the theater and did not enhance the experience.
I remember as the Blair Witch Project was ending its first run. I saw it in September of '99, and I went into the theater, and sat down, and I was the only person until about 5 minutes into the movie, and 2 other people walked in, and I was a little pissed because they sat like 1 row behind me. I'm like, really? The whole theater, you picked the 1 row behind me, but they were silent, so it felt like they weren't there. But that's kind of fun. I do enjoy watching a movie. I love watching a movie in a crowded theater, and I love watching a movie when no one else is there.
We've got one from Alex, friend of the show, Sonic Al. Trivia. Dwayne McLean, who played Black Bart in A Christmas Story, played the zombie with a noose around his neck in Land of the Dead. Noose around his neck zombie.
I don't know the particular zombie off the top of my head, but that makes sense because A Christmas Story, if you don't know, was all the exteriors for the most part were filmed in Toronto.
Okay.
So it sounds like Dwayne McLean has had a long storied history in film, especially in the Toronto area. So that's pretty cool. Nice piece of trivia for Land of the Dead. I appreciate that, Alex. Thank you.
This is a good one, man, and I wasn't really expecting to touch on this one, but I mean, any idea why George? I mean, it's obvious he's only really known for his zombie films, and that's unfortunate. I mean, it's not unfortunate because he reached, unprecedented levels of fame in that genre and created a genre and will forever be referenced. So it's not a tragedy or anything. I mean, he's going to be appreciated for generations to come. But at the same time, such a bulk of his filmography consists of zombie-related projects. And me, as a George Romero fanatic, and I know Matt has echoed this in the past, I would have loved to see more non-zombie, non-horror, not even horror-related projects. I just because he has it in him. He's a filmmaker. He's an artist.
Yeah.
And I feel that he's operating on the same level, at least at a given time in his filmography. He was operating on the top of the arts, and I just find it unfortunate that he was never able to find a foothold in a genre outside of horror.
Yeah, I know. Talking to him one time, he just wanted to make movies, and he had different ideas for different types of movies. I don't think he wanted himself to be pigeonholed into the horror genre, and I think that's kind of where his career started, and that's why the earlier works that he did, Season of the Witch, I don't even consider that a horror movie. There's Always Vanilla, way off the radar with a romantic type of film. Bruiser is barely a horror movie. It's more of a thriller and whatnot. But I just knew George wanted to make movies, and he wanted to try his hand at different stuff. But when you hear the name George Romero, what do you think of? Zombies and horror, and that's he didn't shun it, but he just wished that someone would have been like, George, here's money, go make this movie.
I can't believe somebody didn't win the lottery before it was all said and done.
I would have.
I know damn.
I'd have given him $5 million to do whatever, or say, and I think anyone would have.
That's the number, and that's not. You don't stumble across that number accidentally. I mean, that's like basically what Grunwald and company was coming up for his last couple of pictures. That's what it takes with digital photography, the equipment that he was using. $5 million, he could have just written a non-horror script and gotten it done, and that's all I wanted to see. And
yeah. I mean, even making a Clay or whatever he had written. I know he wanted to make like a romantic type drama comedy, not so much like a rom-com, but he just wanted to branch out. He had different ideas, and unfortunately, we never got to see him.
He expressed interest in redoing Season of the Witch as well, which I mean, the more I watch that, I'm like, especially with the Arrow's pristine Blu-ray they put out, I'm like, don't even redo it. I mean, it just looks so fantastic. I don't know if you've had a chance to take that one in.
Oh yeah. No, it's been a little while since I visited that box set. I think last fall or whatever was probably the last time I really cracked it open. But yeah, Season of the Witch I do appreciate. I do like that one out of that entire box set. I like the Crazies, but I think Season of the Witch is one of those that a lot of people really glance over.
I want to say something real quick because I kind of ran it. I've got an associate that who's also he's as much of a Romero fan as we are, and I dropped something on him the other day, like the last time that I took in Season of the Witch, the scene where Ray Lane turns on the Jan White's friend. He basically rolls a fake joint with just cigarette tobacco, and does this whole psychological trip on her. I mean it, man. Go through that scene again. That is the absolute best thing that George has ever written. And I know it without analyzing it, it deserves a laugh. But honestly, you think about what he's writing there. He's probably 32 years old, younger than you and I. He had the perspective to write a middle-aged woman who is like running out of options in life, but is still wants to explore things, be young, do things. And this whole sequence of Ray Lane's character bringing this out, it's really fascinating. I mean, it's a really complicated piece of work once you add all, I mean, when you just conceptualize coming up with this shit. It's like, who the fuck comes up with that? Tricking some old lady to realize that, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's kind of out there, but the execution, they really nail it, man.
Yeah, and I think that's the thing is I think George always had strong ideas and strong scripts, and sometimes the execution just didn't lend itself to the what he could have done. If he could have gone back and remade Day of the Dead or Season of the Witch, I would have been interested to see what he would have done with it looking back, and I think we would have gotten a completely different film from what we saw, not just in terms just because it would have been a remake, but just I think George's approach would have been very, very different. Having that experience as a younger man and now as an older man, really putting both together. And I'd like to see someone remake that movie with the intent of doing it like George maybe would have.
I'm glad you mentioned that, because it made me think of something that I'll just mention here, because anybody that's listening now, you're hardcore WGON for life, just something that had been on my mind. I mentioned to you, Matt, we're thinking about maybe doing a live audio play of the original Day of the Dead script. And if anybody's interested and you have some decent recording equipment, just send an email to WGONradio.com, because we're looking to put together an audio play of the original Day script. And I think listening to it in that form would kind of flesh it out a little better, because just on the page, it doesn't quite, you know what I mean? It's a script. But I think, and we could probably break it up, or maybe just put it all in one podcast. But I think it'd be really cool to put that project together. And also, there's a couple of other scripts. I'm sitting on the Diamond Dead. Maybe we could look on that. We could do something with Diamond Dead later. I got some ideas.
Yeah. Let's flesh them out. That'd be something to do this year. All right. Yeah, especially Diamond Dead. It's been a while since I visited that piece of work. So
yeah, Diamond Dead. That's off the radar for every, even astute George Romero.
Yeah. That was less than a blip on the radar, but I do have a copy of that.
Well, wasn't there like, yeah, man, Johnny Depp and Ozzy Argento, as good as done. Let's see. Sorry, I'm just browsing through the shit. Sometimes when you're browsing through the comments, it'll suddenly jump to the bottom, and it's like, Return of the Living Dead is a way of life. I agree. It's a way of life, man. This ain't no costume. Actually, I did my. I was considering it, dude. I was considering going the Suicide. I was like, you know what? Short. Let's do the crisscross. We'll hook up the Suicide. Forgive me. I'm trying to find back where I was. There's been some talks about the mines. Okay, let's see. Alex, what you got? The music and soundtrack, especially Modern Man's beautiful work they did as a part of. I'm okay with Day of the Dead. I've got no problem. I don't. Let's get real. I mean, the soundtrack was made for the original script, so the tropical vibrations are appropriate. When you apply it to a bunch of dudes screaming in a cave, it's, the music itself, though, there's nothing wrong with it. I don't have any. I actually kind of like the music. I think it's pretty cool.
Yeah, I don't think the music in Day stands out as much as the original or the first two zombie films that George did.
Certainly way more cohesive. Like, I think, well, you say that because the music's kind of all over the place in those films, where this is just, you can tell the same composer did the whole thing.
Yeah, and yeah, I like the soundtrack from Day of the Dead. It is very 80s, which is great. Where the soundtrack for Night, is that Capitol, library music, and even for Dawn, mostly library music and Goblin. Very, it's not hard to tell that they were made in any certain time frame, but Day of the Dead, it screams 80s. Very synthesized, but it's I like it. I just don't think it's as strong as the first two films in that trilogy.
Yeah, and it's not it's not like a weak composer or anything, because I think John Harrison's work for Creepshow is superior. It's
absolutely
spot on.
Yep.
Will, friend of the show. I got told the Zombie Museum didn't exist when I first went to the mall. I was told that by mall staff at the time. I found it on my own 5 minutes later. I actually, after the Living Dead Museum was erected inside of Monroeville Mall, which is somewhere around 07-ish, 06, 07 range, I actually went there a couple times, and just both times I went, it was closed. I never actually got to go in there. I always wanted to, because I always saw the models and things of the mall store layout and such. I always wanted to see that stuff, but I didn't actually get to check it out till 2018.
Yeah, I remember when Kevin had his first store at the mall, and he had the little back part when the whole storefront was all the other toys and stuff that he did, and that was kind of like a side note. I remember he would show a lot of the documentary, like the Dead Will Walk from the Dawn box set, and I remember I'd go back there from time to time. I remember talking to Kevin and telling him that I had mall lights and stuff, and that's kind of where I first got introduced to who Kevin was. And I remember sitting back there one time. I think Reeve was probably about a year old, so this would have been like sometime in 2009, and Bill Heinzman just walks in and just sits down, and I look over and I'm like, Bill? just kind of like offhanded, and we sat back there and talked for probably 25-30 minutes until it was time that Reeve at that point had just kind of lost interest in everything. But yeah, it wasn't like super advertised. I think he advertised it within the store, and unless you were really looking at that, you didn't know it was in the back. And then I remember when he moved over to where the arcade was, that's where he kind of really took off with that and kind of had some promotion from outside of his own storefront.
Man, I'm sorry. I just would love to talk to Bill Heinzman, man. That kills me. I just, and in a podcast I was doing about 10 years ago, we were actually reaching out to him, repeatedly trying to get, reach out to him from an interview, and like the very next bit of news we heard that he had passed. So
yeah, he was a super sweet guy,
and just loved to talk.
Yeah.
Stories. I mean, he was like the Night of the Living Dead debate.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Real. But yeah, it took me a minute. I never actually saw the store in the mall. I saw it closed. I mean, the doors were closed. I couldn't get in. But for whatever reason, he was at a convention that weekend, so was not able to see that until recently.
So while you're looking there, I do want to point out, I know he's been lurking in the chats, but Dan Lowry, congratulations on the birth of your twin girls.
Yes.
Congratulations, my friend. Hope Courtney and Atticus are doing well. So take care of yourself. Try to get sleep when you can. We look forward to seeing you guys as soon as we can, but I wanted to give a congratulations out to you on Courtney doing well and the girls as well.
yeah, I hope you guys are doing well and that they can make it home soon and everything's okay. And I hope you guys are getting some rest too, because it's been a little while since me or Matt have had to do everything. You know what you're going through.
Haven't sleep in 18 years.
But yeah, congratulations to I mean, so now it's 3 kids now, right? Yeah, so
Yeah, he's outnumbered. Him and Atticus.
that's amazing.
Yeah.
I do want to this is a comment from Jace Whitman, and I do just want to. I think we all need to revisit Diary, don't we? But I do want to just mention Jace Whitman because friend of the show. It hasn't been an update recently, but I'm sure he'll get back with it soon. The Dawn of the Dead Thursdays that Jace creates is amazing. I mean, it's just we need more stuff like that, and Jace has really been towing the line here for the last couple of years with the Dawn of the Dead Thursdays, which basically it's a YouTube show that will showcase a collectible or maybe an event. So I look on YouTube for Dawn of the Dead Thursdays, and hopefully we'll see another one of those soon. And yes, I think everybody, just generally speaking, needs to revisit Diary. I don't think there's anybody in the world that doesn't.
I think it's one of those you have to go in and like I said, don't go in with the attitude of God, this sucks. Why am I watching this? Go in and just as open-minded as you can. It's again, when I say that, I'm not expecting anyone to change their tune, but there's got to be something in there that you like. You got to see what George was going for. You go to the kitchen, you try to make something, it doesn't look like you wanted it to, or it doesn't come out right, but you tried. You got to celebrate what you can with it. But yeah, no, I need to go visit Diary again. It's probably the one that I've watched the least out of them. I like the beginning a lot. I think the beginning of the film is probably my most favorite part of the movie. I got to visit the opening slum locations when I went up to Toronto a couple of years ago, where they do the opening newscast. And probably in 2009, I went to the mansion that the film ends in, which is kind of like a resort.
Oh, dude, we got to go to Toronto.
Yeah,
Canada.
Yeah, no, a lot of good spaces up there. Toronto's a beautiful city. I absolutely love it, and next to Pittsburgh, it's my absolute favorite city to go to.
Will Welfley he's going to be Bub in the
Will's got wonderful range. He can do that very well.
He does. He should have played Big Daddy.
Well, that's what I call him.
Exactly. Yeah, let's see. Who wants to be played Rhodes? Will, you're Bub, that's fine.
You got to bring range. Like, Rhodes is going to be cast hard. You're going to have to bring your A game to that.
I don't even remember. I'm sure Diamond Dead was bad. Was it bad? I'm sure it was.
You know what? I'm going to have to dig it out. It's sitting probably within 4 feet of me somewhere in one of my boxes. I'm going to have to go look it up. Actually, I think I have a PDF of it as well. I'm going to have to fire it up and go through and take notes. So maybe for a future episode, we can do a deep dive into Diamond Dead. Because again, there's a lot of people that don't even know what the fuck are they talking about. What the fuck is Diamond Dead? It was that mid 2000s kind of project that George was working on that never he was releasing it kind of as a serial on his website. Used to be able to go and get a chapter or two whenever he would update it, but I know I sent Suze the PDF I had. She was working on collecting his stuff, and I know I sent that to her. So we'll see. Maybe it'll come out in a collected form in some way, shape, or form here in the future, depending on what she's got going on.
yeah, I don't know who that was saying that. Anybody, just yeah, seriously, if you're interested, because it's been a minute since I looked at the day script. It's got a ton of characters, so I mean, if you're interested, you're in. If you just have a means.
Yeah, is it? I guess I can go out and grab it at Homepage of the Dead. I'm sure I have the file somewhere in my file.
That's the
on
one
my
I
hard
would
drive.
do. Yeah.
So we'll have to go out and we'll work on it and see what we need, and we'll put out a casting call. Those are my men in there.
There's my men in there. I thought they were talking about us.
Yeah.
I get it now. Okay, so Alex again. He's just. I'm gonna hide this, but
that was Dan Lowry that posted that. Those are my men in there. He
is specifically asking Alex's about the song with vocals. And I mean, I don't, it's par for the course. I don't have a problem with it. It's just credit music. Had it popped up during the zombie, eating scene. I don't know. It might have been weird. It's kind of like one of those bizarre songs that comes up in Asian movies sometimes, where it's like,
yeah, I think any vocal tracks like that, because it's played over the credits, I think it's really the only place that it's appropriate. That it wouldn't. I think adding that type of vocal track to George's movies would have completely changed the tone and really pulled you out of what George was trying to do. And I think that's the strength of George's movies, that they don't include a lot of that pop music or something recognizable to distract you, where a movie like Return of the Living Dead has that rock soundtrack, that punk soundtrack that adds to it. So yeah, I think it's good where it is. Again, nothing wrong with it. I think it's good soundtrack, but to me it's good where it is.
All right, well, that brings us to a close for the evening. We've gone 2.5 hours, and this has gone better than expected. Mark Norris says, Sarah's research, do I get the part? Yes, you do. Logan is now from Britain, and that's fine with me. There's nothing saying that he's not.
Hey, it's 2020, man. We'll cast this shit as we need to. I'm not pigeonholing any role for any one particular person.
Yeah, we're gonna class up.
Although I'm not going to be Terry Alexander, I can't do a Jamaican accent to save my life. So count me out of that role.
Yeah, I'm gonna do I'll do the narrator and if there's like a part that has just one or two lines randomly, just a total bit part. But I'm gonna need some help everywhere else. So maybe I'll put the good word out. I'll as we figure out who's doing what, I'll put out requests for other parts. But yeah, I'm game for bringing anybody in that's wanting to do it. This should be fun.
Yeah, let's do it.
All right. Well, we're going to go ahead and sign off for Eric. I'm Eric.
And I'm Matt.
We will see you very soon here on WGON Radio.
Take care, guys.
Bye-bye.